Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is part 1 of our story. If you like this What If story and want to see part 2, let me know in the comments below. Before we start, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Also, check the description for more great content and my playlist. This story was posted by 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 on Wattpad. Now let's start. 𝗧𝗟𝗘 Aizawa, or better known as Eraserhead, an underground hero who does not like attention from media and has a quirk called erasure by which he can erase others' quirk except for mutants. He was patrolling the streets when he was suddenly hit with the smell of burning. Sniff, sniff, something's burning, he thought as he looked around and saw smoke coming from the previous street, and he broke into a sprint and reached the street where he saw an apartment on fire and people gathered around. Some shouting for help, others calling while some taking pictures. He ran at the crowd and shouted, "Get back. Let me go inside, please stay back or else you can be hurt," as some people cheered after seeing a hero arrive at the scene. He ran inside the building silently, thanking the support industry for fireproof suit. He saw that the apartment was burned fully, and after searching in up and down he saw 2 bodies on the floor. Both looked as if they had been decayed, and he looked for some clues and saw that the fire was deliberately done as the gas was open and traces of a use of fire quirk was seen. Must be some kind of villain, looks like no one survived. Better call the police, he thought as he began to walk out, but then heard a muffled voice. He immediately turned around and saw a tuft of green and black hair behind a sofa. He went there and saw a small child around 4-year-old crying, and his eye widened as he tried to touch him. When the child saw him, he became terrified and back with more tears falling and said, "Pee, please don't hurt me, I won't, I am a hero," he replied as the child's eye widened, and he said, "Aw really?" As Aizawa nodded and said with a small smile, "Come on kid, I won't hurt you, my name is 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 Aizawa and I am Eraserhead, a pro hero, my name is Izuku. 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘," Izuku said in a shy manner as he went to Aizawa, and they went out of the apartment. After sitting out for a while, the police arrived along with other pro-heroes and media. The fire was put out and the bodies were taken away. Izuku did not leave Aizawa's side and just hugged him tightly whenever someone approached. Eventually questioning were done, and Izuku never told what happened. Whenever someone asked what happened, he cried, and after hearing the news of his parents' death, he fainted after having a panic attack. Detective Tsukachi called Aizawa and said, "Aizawa, you should take the child with you." "What? I can't take a child, you know my living conditions, that environment is not for children, and I also have work as a hero," Aizawa argued. Yes, I know," sighed Tsukachi as he pinched the bridge of his nose as he continued, "but you know the child is shaken and only trusts you for now. So what I am saying is that keep him for some time till the case is solved, and then we will give him to foster house, or if some relative is alive or anyone willing to adopt him." Aizawa sighed as he said, "All right." He took Izuku to his house and said, "All right kid, let's go sleep, you take the couch and I'll sleep on the floor. My bed broke some time back, because of some unwanted people. Anyways, it's been a long day, let's sleep." It was midnight when Aizawa awoke to see Izuku shivering and screaming in sleep, obviously having a nightmare. He cursed inwardly as he shook the boy, who woke up heavily as he jumped on Aizawa, startling him as he cried and said in a shaky voice, "Mr. Aizawa, I saw 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘. I sleep with you." Aizawa sighed as he nodded, and the boy, after calming down, slept on him, and he unconsciously wrapped his arms around the boy. It had been 3 weeks since then, and the same thing happened at night for Aizawa and Izuku to sleep together, and Aizawa comforting him. Aizawa might not show it, but he had gotten attached to the kid after he got out of his shell. He was also grateful that Izuku was not like other whiny or annoying kids. He also learned Izuku did not get a quirk yet, probably a late bloomer. The subject of the night was still sore for Izuku, and he did not talk about it, and Aizawa did not ask to not pressure them. The police also had no luck with the case. It had been 5 weeks since then, and one morning Aizawa awoke and gave Izuku breakfast and himself ate it too, and was sitting on the couch looking towards Izuku as he was drawing, sitting on the table, as he heard his phone ring. He looked at the caller and resisted the urge to throw the phone away. On the phone was written, "Incoming phone call Hisashi Yamada." He picked up the phone and said hello, and winced as a loud voice came, "Hello Shota. How are you?" "Huh, I'm fine. Now tell me, what is the reason for your call?" Shota said in a tired voice as he heard, "Oh come on, Shota, can't a friend call to say hello?" "Shut up and talk," Aizawa said, not in the mood for present mixed bullshit. He heard a chuckle on the other side as Present Mike said, just wanted to tell ya that 𝗚𝗚𝗧𝗏 and I won 4 pizzas free, so we thought of coming over your place and eating it there at 3. Listen 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘 Aizawa was cut off as Mike exclaimed, no way 𝗧𝗱, we ain't listening to any of your excuses. It has been a long time since we met. We just met 5 weeks ago where you and 𝗚𝗚𝗧𝗏 got into a fight over her. Wheat, and while chasing you around the house she destroyed my bed, 𝗧𝗱 said in a deadpan voice. Present Mike laughed and said, oh come on 𝗧𝗱, don't be like that, 5 weeks is a long time. Alright then, how about this, we will bring a bed along too. 𝗧𝗱 then thought for a while and said, bring 2 beds, one for a kid, making Present Mike confused. For a kid? What? Just bring it, I will tell you later, 𝗧𝗱 said. Don't tell me you had a child and hid it from you. 𝗧𝗱, how could you? Shouted Mike, annoying 𝗧𝗱 as he said, 𝗧𝗓, shut up and do what I said or else don't come here, as he closed his phone inside. Aizawa then looked at the table and saw Izuku drawing. He smiled a little. Oh come on, even he has a heart, and thought the kid probably deserves some distraction from all that 𝗧𝗓 he faced. He then stood up and looked at the drawing and his eyes widened as he saw that Izuku had drawn a fire in an apartment and some people hurting others. Izuku looked at Aizawa shyly and Aizawa smiled a little and said, you have good drawing skills. Kit. Izuku blushed a little at the compliment and handed Aizawa the drawing, and Aizawa, not used to talking to children, asked hesitantly, is it about that night? Izuku nodded as Aizawa asked, are you ready to tell what happened? Izuku nodded again and said, can I sit in your lap? 𝗧𝗱 nodded as Izuku sat in his lap and started with a deep breath. That night, it had been a week since my 4th birthday and my quirk had not shown up, and I was drawing as my father and mother were talking about someone dangerous and some offered. 𝗧𝗱's eyes widened at that and said, do you remember what it was? He nodded and said, someone called 𝗒𝗋. Yes. That and his offer to join some league I don't know, Dad said in a low voice about forcefully taking his quirk away. Aizawa was shell-shocked at this. He had heard about 𝗒𝗋 from All Might as they were good friends, and now learning that 𝗒𝗋 had business with the kid's family was dangerous, so he better tell All Might. He then petted Izuku's hair and told him to continue. Izuku then continued. He also said that he should tell 𝗚𝗚𝗧𝗏 about this, but before he could call him, a dark purple hole opened and a man wearing a suit came in with a child. With blue hair and hands covering him, about 10 or 12 years old, along with the hole, who turned into a mist man. The suit man asked father about his choice and mom told me to hide as I watched them argue, and suddenly the mist man grabbed mom and pushed her on the floor as the suit man sniffed some weird wires, and dad fell down not moving, and then the wires connected to mom and sniff as she too fell down. Then the boy with blue hairs put his hand on their face and the face began to crumble, and then turned the gas on and suit man breathed fire and lit the whole place as he cried, and Aizawa hugged the boy close. What were your parents' quirks? He asked as Izuku said in a shaky and stuttering voice. Mom could attract things to her, but Dad had lied that his quirk was fire breath. He did not want attention. His quirk was dragon. He could grow dragon parts on his body, had dragon lungs to breath fire, and could grow dragon scales to become fireproof. Aizawa's eye widened at hearing about such a powerful quirk. Then he thought hard as he put Izuku to sleep. He had thought this was some simple case of murder, but 𝗒𝗋 was there and had brutally murdered the kid's parents after taking their quirks, and the kid had to watch them die. And Yagi was All Might's name, meaning his father knew All Might personally, but how could he know the #1 hero personally? I better tell the detective and All Might about it. He looked down to see Izuku sleeping on him. He had grown attached to the kid, but he had to give him up. He could not provide a home for him and be there for him, as he had to do hero work. He sighed as he looked at the clock and saw there were only 2 hours left for 𝗧𝗓 and 𝗚𝗚𝗧𝗏 to arrive, so he put Izuku on the couch as he went to take a shower to freshen up. Some time later Izuku had woken up and looked a little fresh as he asked, Mr. Aizawa? Aizawa responded, Will I continue to live with you? He asked in a hopeful tone. Aizawa's heart crushed as he thought of denying him, but then said, I don't know, kid. This place is not suitable to raise a child, and I also have work as a hero. He saw the sadness and despair in Izuku's eyes, which tore his heart apart, but then Izuku said, but I want to live with you. I don't care where we live, just please don't send me away from you. I will be good. Aizawa was frustrated now. He just didn't understand what to do. He had to do work as a hero and he couldn't raise a child, but he also didn't want to leave Izuku to someone else. The child had grown too attached to him and he had grown too attached to the child. He decided to ask Hizashi and Namuri about it as he said, okay, I'll try my best. The smile on Izuku's face was enough to brighten his day as he too smiled. Just then the doorbell rang as Izuku said, I'll get it, as he jumped off and ran to the door excitedly. He opened the door with a smile and said, hello. The other two at the door froze at seeing a child inside their friend's home as he gestured, come in with a cheerful smile. Namuri, or otherwise the R-rated hero Midnight, squealed loudly, lifting Izuku in the air saying, what a cutie, and rubbing her cheek against his as she brought him inside. Izuku looked at Aizawa pleadingly and mouthed, help, as Aizawa chuckled lightly as he said, Namuri, you're scaring him, as she put him down pouting as Izuku ran straight to Aizawa and hid behind his leg. Hizashi, finally getting over his shock, asked, 𝗧𝗱𝗘, explain, as Namuri nodded and he sighed as he explained everything, and they both nodded, and then he looked at Izuku and said, introduce yourself. Izuku came forward and said with a radiant smile, hello. My name is Izuku and I am 4-year-old. The guests chuckled as Namuri cooed over him, and Hizashi laughed too and said, my name is Hizashi Yamada and I am a pro hero too. My hero name is Present Mike. Izuku had stars in his eyes as he said, whoa. So cool. And Midnight said, my name is Namuri Kiyama and my hero name is Midnight. Now Izuku was jumping in excitement as he said, you're a hero too? Awesome. Now, Izuku, go and draw something while we talk for a while. Okay, Aizawa said with a small smile as Izuku nodded and said okay. As he walked away, Aizawa heard a snort and saw Midnight and Mike struggling to hold their laughs. Mike said in between laughs, who knew 𝗧𝗱𝗧 would get attached to a child? As Midnight laughed too but suddenly grew serious and said, seriously, but what do you plan on doing with him, 𝗧𝗱𝗧𝗟𝗘? Aizawa's face turned grim as he said, I don't know. I have grown too attached to the kid. I don't want to let go of him, but how am I supposed to raise him? I am no parent material, and you saw I don't even have a stable job, and we heroes are in constant danger. As he sighed, and Mike said, why don't you ask him, 𝗧𝗱𝗧𝗟𝗘? Believe me, I did, and he wants to stay with me wherever I go, Aizawa told them. Then take him in, 𝗧𝗱𝗧𝗟𝗘. You can do your job and we will take care of him at nights for you. Don't worry. Do what your heart says and remember, whatever decision you take, don't regret it later, Mike advised as Midnight nodded and said, true, your life is dull, 𝗧𝗱𝗧𝗟𝗘. Maybe Izuku is what you need in life and can be good for you to feel the life of family. Just think what you want to do while we set the beds in the rooms. Aizawa thought deeply as he replayed every moment he had in the past 5 weeks with Izuku and how happy he was. Then he imagined a life without him and saw that now Izuku had become important to him, so he made a decision: he will adopt him as his own tomorrow. Maybe things will get interesting. 5 days later, Aizawa had taken Izuku to the police station to report about what he heard from Izuku. He had already told 𝗚𝗡𝗧𝗏 to call All Might and 𝗏𝗧𝗏, the principal of 𝗬𝗏 Academy, as this was some serious business, and the detective said All Might would arrive after 4 days so he could come then. Izuku meanwhile was lost in his own little world, playing with Aizawa's old capture gear, which was cut to his size. With the help of Aizawa and some talks from Midnight and Present Mike, he had overcome his nightmares. These past days they both regularly came and spent time with Izuku, spoiling him much to the chagrin of Aizawa, as they now had many toys and clothes for Izuku. As they reached the station, Izuku immediately put his hands out for Aizawa as Aizawa picked him up and said, "Come on, kid, why are you scared of this place?" Izuku replied quietly, "Because they will talk about that night." Aizawa understood as he wrapped his capture gear around Izuku and told him, "Don't worry, I will be here with you." As Izuku smiled a little. Well, now isn't this touching to see the Eraserhead, who hates kids, showing affection to 1-inch, spoke a bear, mouse, rabbit. "Izuku is not like other annoying kids," Aizawa replied, blushing a little after seeing what appeared to be the biggest smile on Izuku's face. "Hello, child. My name is 𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏 and I am the principal of 𝗬𝗏 Academy," 𝗏𝗧𝗏 said as Izuku replied shyly, "Hello, my name is Izuku. It's nice to meet you, haha, the pleasure is all mine," 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 said as he motioned Aizawa to follow him. Inside the room, as Aizawa and 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 entered, they saw All Might, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, who was All Might's mentor and a retired hero, Detective Tsukachi, Present Mike, Midnight, 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, and Sir Night-Eye, the sidekick of All Might. "Hello, Aizawa and young Midoriya. It is I, All Might," shouted as greeted Izuku, and Izuku with stars in his eyes said, "Whoa, it really is All Might. You're my number 2 favorite hero, you know," as All Might laughed loudly. "Number 2? May I ask who number 1 is?" 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 asked in a curious tone as Izuku's smile got even bigger as he exclaimed, "My favorite hero is Mr. Aizawa," as the background changed to bright stars behind him and others covered their eyes and thought, "So cute," while Aizawa blushed a little and a warm feeling spread in his chest for being Izuku's favorite hero. "Oops, I forgot. Hello, my name is Izuku Midoriya. It's nice to meet you," Izuku said, rubbing the back of his head. As everyone smiled and introduced themselves to the kid. "Well, come on, Izuku, your favorite Aunt Nemuri will take you outside to play till the heroes talk," as she took Izuku from Aizawa and went outside. "Now, then, Eraserhead, will you please inform us what the kid told you?" Detective 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 said as Aizawa coughed and started to tell what Izuku had told him, and after he told them there was a tense atmosphere in the room as All Might clenched his fists and said, "All for One is on the move again. It means the final battle is not far in the future?" "Yes. But All Might, tell me, did you know the boy's father personally?" 𝗫𝗠𝗠 asked as All Might sighed and said, "Yes, we were very close friends back in high school and he even knew all my secrets but never told them, and somehow All for One must have knew about his Dragonify quirk and threatened him to become a villain, but he refused and now he is gone. Then now we are certain that All for One is planning something. You better prepare, Toshi. This battle will be the final battle," 𝗏𝗏𝗏 said with a grim face. "But right now, what should we do about the child? There are no living relatives of his, so we should give him up to a foster care," Detective 𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏 said as Aizawa coughed and said, "There will be no need. I will be taking the kid." Everyone present gasped as they knew Aizawa hated kids, except present Mike and 𝗫𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏, who smiled as they had seen how Aizawa had become attached to the child. "Are you sure, Aizawa? Once you adopt him, there is no going back," 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗧 said as Aizawa nodded and said, "As much as I hate to admit, the kid has grown on me and I can't give him up." The demon brat smile is contagious. Everyone smiled as they had personally seen the hyperactive kid. 𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏 smirked as he threw the adoption papers to Aizawa and said, "I prepared them just in case, and take this too. It is the only thing which was not burned in the house. It was his father's last memory." As Aizawa looked at the white scales-covered scarf, which was unusually warm but was comfortable too, taking it he signed the papers, and 𝗫𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏 said, "Well, now that everything is over we should head back. Goodbye." As he walked out along with everyone in 2 months later, Izuku Midoriya, now known as Izuku Aizawa, was playing with his toys, running around the house. Think of 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 clothes as a child, red shirt with shorts and the scarf, while Midnight was laughing along with Mike, and Aizawa just laid in his sleeping bag watching the kid. "Huh, you got to admit, Shota, nothing is dull with this kid," Mike said as Nemuri nodded, and Aizawa sighed and said in a deadpan voice, "This also means I can't sleep much." "Oh, come on, Shota, we know you love the kid as your own," Midnight said as Aizawa 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. "Huh, but whatever you say, I am just happy that the crime rate is decreased and we don't have to do much work," Midnight said with a sigh. "Hey Shota, what about the offer 𝗫𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 gave to teach at UA?" asked Mike, and Aizawa sat up, unzipping the bag and said, "I have accepted the offer. I need a stable job to raise Izuku." The other two nodded and Mike said, "Good, we also have accepted the offer. By the way, what about Aizu-chan?" "Oh, he will be going with us to you. So we don't have to worry," said Aizawa as they both looked confused and asked, "Why?" He smirked and said, "𝗫𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 said he will ask some teachers to teach the kid till the end of elementary school and then he will join a middle school nearby," as they both understood as for now All for One could target Izuku, so he would lay low for some years. Meanwhile, with Izuku, he was running from the kitchen towards Aizawa when suddenly he felt warm inside and sneezed as fire blew from his mouth and his head started to ache as he began to hear things loudly. He could even see a little ant walking on the ceiling as he screamed, "Mr. Aizawa, it hurts. Everything is so loud." Everyone rushed towards Izuku as Aizawa asked worriedly, "What happened, kid? Why are you shouting?" "It hurts my ears," Izuku said as they all were confused as he put his fingers into his ears and sniffed loudly and said, "Now, it doesn't hurt." Everyone was confused as Izuku said, "Mr. Aizawa, look, there is an ant walking on the ceiling there," as he pointed at the right corner of the room, and everyone's eye widened as realization hit them that his quirk must have activated. Suddenly Izuku's face lit up and with stars in his eyes he said, "Mr. Aizawa, just now I also blew fire from my mouth. It was so cool. Does that mean I have a quirk?" Aizawa and the others sighed in relief as they heard it was a quirk's activation, and then Midnight asked, "Do you feel hurt somewhere?" He shook his head as he said, "No, just feeling warm all of a sudden, and my throat and lungs are hot too." Mike touched Izuku and said, "Whoa, so warm. Izuku smiled as he took his fingers out of his ears. Just then the headache came and he winced as he put the fingers back and said, Mr. Aizawa, I can hear the air too and it hurts. I can't take my fingers out. Enhanced hearing, enhanced sight, fire breathing, high temperature of body, meaning his skin must be fireproof too, Aizawa thought as he stood up, went to his room and from the cupboard took out some headphones and gave them to Izuku to wear as he said, here to solve your hearing problem. As Izuku after wearing it sniffed and said, 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏. You stink. As he pinched his nose, Midnight began to laugh loudly as she fell clutching her sides. Even Aizawa chuckled while Mike was embarrassed. So enhanced smell too? Okay, try to light yourself on fire, Aizawa said as Izuku nodded as he focused hard, his face scrunched and they all resisted the urge to hug him, and all of a sudden Izuku was on fire as he said, whoa, so cool, I am on fire. Aizawa smiled as his guess of being fireproof was right. Aizawa then ruffled Izuku's hair and said, well, come on kid, we gotta register your quirk. So what did you want to call it? 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘, he said with a proud smile as Aizawa rose an eyebrow and said, why is that? Izuku smiled widely and said, well, you remember you brought me a comic last week. In the story the boy had this superpowers exactly like mine and he was called a dragon slayer. Oh. So that's why, Aizawa said as he nodded, and turning towards Midnight he said, come on Namuri, we will take your car. She smiled as she nodded. They all went sat in the car. Just as she started the car and drove a little, Izuku turned green and said, Mr. Aizawa. Don't feel good. Present. Mike laughed at Izuku and said, haha, such a cool quirk and haha, such a lame weakness, motion sickness, ha. Aizawa put Izuku near the window and lowered it so he could throw out if he wanted, as Izuku just kept wobbling here and there in a dizzy state. After reaching there, they registered his quirk and went home. Time skipped to 6-year-old Izuku. Izuku, holding Aizawa's hand, was standing outside the academy and smiling broadly as Aizawa said, now, listen here Izuku. Don't cause trouble, okay? Yes, sir, saluted Izuku as he laughed and walked with Aizawa. He was wearing a yellow shirt with M written on it and blue shorts with his trademark red shoes, white scarf and the new dragon mark headphones which 𝗧𝗱𝗃 bought him. They walked inside the academy where they were greeted by 𝗏𝗧𝗏. Hello Izuku, how are you? Hello, 𝗏𝗧𝗏-san, I am fine. It is nice to meet you again, Izuku replied smiling. Hello 𝗏𝗧𝗏, 𝗧𝗱𝗃 said in his usual tired voice as 𝗏𝗧𝗏 laughed and greeted Aizawa as he said, well, you should go teach your class. And Izuku, I heard you got your quirk? Mom, I call it 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘, he said with a proud smile. This interested 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏 as he asked in a curious tone, mind telling me what it does? Izuku looked at 𝗧𝗱𝗃 for permission, who nodded as Izuku turned towards 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏 and said, my quirk gives me an enhanced. Aizawa supplied a highs. Enhanced smell, hearing and sight, and I can even breath fire and launch fire attacks, Izuku replied, puffing his chest out to look cool. Interesting. So what is the drawback of your quirk? 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏 asked. He then saw Izuku deflated as a small cloud came over him, and Aizawa chuckled, making 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏 curious, and Aizawa answered, the drawback of his quirk is motion sickness. He can't ride in any type of vehicles. 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏 chuckled and trying to lift Izuku's spirit said, come on, be happy the drawback isn't severe, as Izuku straightened and said yes. But then deflated again and said, now I am beginning to sound annoying like Uncle Mike. Aizawa laughed along with 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏 as Izuku sat on Aizawa's shoulders and went towards his class. Just as Aizawa entered his homeroom class, the student stood up and greeted him, good morning sir, as Aizawa greeted back and turned around to write on the board when everyone caught sight of Izuku. The girls giggled seeing Izuku while the boys smiled, and 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏, a boy with engine in his arm, said, sir, if you don't mind me asking, who is the kid? As the class straightened, interested in knowing who the kid is. Oh, him. Come on, introduce yourself, Aizawa said as he put Izuku down on the desk. Hello, my name is Izuku Aizawa and I'm 6 years old, Izuku said with a huge smile. The class was in uproar, the girls squealing while the boys had an incredulous look on their faces. Shut up, Aizawa's voice rang and everyone silenced as 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏 said, hey kid, are you related to Aizawa-sensei? Mom, he's my dad's, he said with grinning as the girls wanted to hug him, but suddenly the door opened and Midnight came and said, oh, 𝗧𝗱𝗃. She stopped midway seeing Izuku standing on the desk and she hugged him tightly and said, oh, little Aizu-chan has also come. Hello Aunt Namuri, Izuku greeted and then asked, is Uncle Mike here too? She nodded and said, yes, but he's teaching class, but I am free, so why not go and have fun? Izuku looked at Aizawa with his famous puppy dog eyes, and Aizawa sighed and then said, okay, go, but don't cause trouble or no meat for a month. Izuku paled and nodded as he then jumped down the table and went with Nemuri. Izuku had a lot of fun at 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐴 Academy, and he met several heroes who taught him school stuff. He was instructed by his father personally while perfecting his quirk when they started training it when he was 7. At age of 8, Izuku had started learning martial arts to incorporate them into his fighting style along with use of his quirk. This was the same year when All Might and All for One had a battle, but this time All Might was prepared for everything and never received that big of a wound, so he didn't need a successor even though he won. All for One escaped. At age of 9, Izuku had started stretching, several fitness exercises and light weightlifting and long runs to increase stamina and endurance. At age 10 he started singing as a hobby, but when he accidentally uploaded a video of his singing in which he wore a mask, the video was an instant hit and he started making more under the alias 𝗧𝗜𝗧𝗟𝗘. At age of 11 Aizawa started sparring with him to sharpen his style and perfecting it. He even gave situations to him to solve and gave him a hobby of analyzing quirks to help him in future against several opponents and improve his quick thinking in any type of situation. Izuku, now 12, had grown into a fine young man who remains calm and collected, standing at 5 feet 3 inches with an athletic body and has long hair, and his eyes had narrowed, like Ichigo's of Bleach after he exits 𝗏𝗏𝗏 to fight Aizen. And he had little baby fat left on his face and was currently standing outside his newly joined middle school. It was his first day, so he went inside where the principal called him. Hello Izuku, Aizawa, right? Izuku nodded and said, nice to meet you, sir. Ha, no problem. Now come on, young lad, we don't want to be late, do we? He said, smiling as he took Izuku to the class and called the teacher out and explained to her about Izuku, and Izuku said, good morning sensei, my name is Izuku Aizawa. Nice to meet you. He ended with a bow, making a light pink dust spread over the teacher's cheeks as she coughed and said, hello, my name is Kimi, you can call me Kimi sensei, okay? Izuku nodded. She went inside and said, now silence, we have a new student joining. Everyone began murmuring, boys saying, I wish it's some hot girl, while girls saying, I wish it is a hot boy, while one particular boy with black hair thought he should be manly. The teacher shook her head seeing the kids and said, come inside and introduce yourself please. Izuku came inside and said, hello, my name is Izuku Aizawa and I am homeschooled. The girls instantly blushed seeing the handsome boy, while some of the boys scowled seeing the girls blushing over him. Well, does anyone has questions? Kimi asked as nearly everyone raised their hands when a girl stood up and asked, are you single? Izuku rose an eyebrow and said, confused by their behavior, I am. Then another asked, why are you wearing a scarf? Oh, this. It was a gift from someone close, he said as everyone understood, and a boy then asked, then why are you wearing headphones? These headphones are for protection. My quirk gives me a very enhanced hearing, so much that whenever someone whispers near me, I think they are shouting and I can hear every little sound which hurts my ears. He replied, all right, no more questions. Now go and sit beside Mr. Kirishima, Mr. Aizawa, and Mr. Kirishima, will you please raise your hand? The teacher said as Kirishima raised his hand, and Izuku said, please Kimi-sensei, call me Izuku. Mr. Aizawa is what the students call my dad. Oh, your father is a teacher. Where does he teach? The teacher asked. Izuku sighed and said, dad teaches at 𝐒𝐮𝐴 Academy. Everyone jumped and shouted, your dad teaches at 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐴. Yes, he said as he rubbed his headphones. So is he a pro hero? Asked a pink-skinned girl. He nodded and said yes, his hero name is Eraserhead. Now can I sit please? As everyone nodded, and he walked to his seat and sat down looking out of the window boredly, and after some time the bell rang. He took the lunch midnight gave him and sat beneath a tree and began to eat. Just then a Kirishima came and said with a smile, hello dude, my name is Eijiro Kirishima, but you can call me Eijiro, nice to meet you. As he held out a hand, Izuku shook his hand and said, hello, my name you know already, but still my name is Izuku Aizawa, nice to meet you. You can call me Izuku. They were about to eat when the pink-skinned girl came and said, hey new guy, my name is Mina Ashido, hope we can be friends. Sure, the name's Izuku Aizawa, but call me Izuku, he replied. If you don't mind me asking, what are your quirks? Izuku asked his new friends, eager to learn more about quirks. My quirk is acid. I can generate acid from my body. These horns and skin color is a mutation, Mina said with a smile as Kirishima said with a toothy grin, my quirk is harden. I can harden my body to create defense. You both have cool quirks. I think some practice and better utilization of your quirk would make you both cool heroes, Izuku said with a smile as they both eyes lit up and they said, really? He nodded. By the way, what is your quirk? Mina asked. Oh, sorry. My quirk is Dragon Slayer, Izuku said. Wait. What? Dragon Slayer? Mina asked confused. He nodded as he continued, my quirk allows me to breathe fire, lit myself on fire, and it even gives me enhanced sights, hearing and smell. Whoa, such a manly quirk, Kirishima said. Well, what do we have here? The pinky and the manly loser. Hey you new guy, you look cool, why hang out with them? You can come with us, a boy with purple hair said. You are? Izuku asked as he said, the name is Kenta, my quirk is freeze, whoever I touch turns to ice. Izuku nodded and then said, so Kenta, I am saying is whom I associate with is none of your concern, so can you please excuse us? What are you telling me to go away? Kenta asked as his bullies stood straightened. Hey, it's Oka Kirishima was about to say when Izuku ran a hand through his hair as he stood up and said in a deep threatening voice, I am kindly asking you to F off or else. He spoke as his eyes shined green and the bullies backed away. Sorry, you had to see me like that. It's just Dad said that when someone does not kindly excuse you, blow them away, Izuku said. Are you kidding? That was so manly, Kirishima said as Mina nodded and said, yeah. That was so cool, Izuku chuckled and said, this is the start of a very appealing friendship. Time skip to last year of middle school. Izuku had grown very popular in the school due to his good look, cool personality and strong quirk, while on the internet his alias 𝗧𝗜𝗧𝗟𝗘 due to his voice had grown popular too, with several show invites coming, but he refused, saying that he wants to keep his identity a secret. He had told his closest friends Kirishima and Ishido about being 𝗧𝗜𝗧𝗟𝗘, which shocked them to the core and told them to keep it a secret whatever the cost, as his popularity has grown too much. Mina had asked him to dedicate a song to her as a good friend, but he said that she would be chased to the end of the country if she did not tell who I was, and she paled. Ijiro on the other hand said how manly Izuku was. They all had a growth spurt. Mina developed a curvy body and reached 5 feet 4 inches. Ijiro reached 5 feet 6 inches and had a sturdy body, and Izuku reached 5 feet 8 inches with a ripped body. Now today they were all given the career plan and everyone had wanted to be a hero, so here we are. Hello class. Now today we are discussing your future plans, but I know mainly everyone wants to become a hero, right? Kimi asked as everyone cheered except for Izuku, who was obviously looking bored. Heh, but teach, I don't plan to be a small hero, Mina exclaimed as Kimi smiled and said, you and Kirishima are going to you. Right. Instantly murmurs began, hey, they are going to you. I heard it's very hard to get in, can they do it, or Izuku you plan to go to you? Too. Kimi asked as he nodded and everyone began whispering, he can definitely enter, have you seen his grades, his quirk is strong too, no doubt he will get in. Yeah, we 3 will rock the exams, Mina shouted as Izuku said, sorry Mina, but I have already been given recommendation. Everyone's eye widened as he said that and some shouted, no way. He really is awesome, Mina shouted, why didn't you tell us? Izuku sighed as he said, Principal Nedzu said that I know you. Inside out, so if I give the exams then the others are bound to fail, so they want others to have a chance too. Because I quote his words were, little Izuku, we can't have you take the exams, you will burn all the robots away leaving nothing for others, so please try to understand. Mina deflated as Izuku sent her a look that said we will talk later, then turned to his best friend Ijiro, who was frowning as he said, we'll talk later. Ijiro nodded. At lunchtime, just as Izuku sat, Mina came and said, Aizu-chan, we had plans too. Kirishima then said, it's not manly to hide things, as Izuku sighed and said, hey Ij, I tried buddy but they won't let me, however he trailed off as they both looked hopeful as he said, I made a deal that if you 2 pass we end up in the same class. Yeah. Now that's good dude, Kirishima said, and then he said, alright, don't tell anyone but I'll tell you tips to enter you. They both brightened and he asked, what is the main purpose of being a hero? Defeating villains, Mina said. Izuku nodded and said, there is another main thing too, saving others, Kirishima added as Izuku said, exactly. Now tell me, in exams there is only defeating villains, so if we rescue someone and in doing so some robots get away and we don't get passing scores, will they turn us away? Realization hit them both as Kirishima said, You mean that instead of only defeating robots, if we help others too, then we will be awarded points? He nodded as he said, remember, heroes are watching you. Thanks, Izuku-chan, we will remember this, Mina exclaimed. In it, how many times have I said don't call me that? Mina, Izuku said as Mina put her tongue out and said, I'll keep calling you this. By the way, when are you two becoming official? Izuku said as they both turned red and shouted, Dude/Izuku-chan's. He laughed at their flustered state. Mina then said, hey, anyone caught your eye? Nah, when anyone will catch my eye, and I catch her eye, she will know and I will know, Izuku replied as they both looked confused. How? Mina asked. He smirked and said, don't underestimate a dragon. Oh, come on dude, it's not manly, tell us, Ijiro said as Izuku smiled. Now Izuku was going home from under a tunnel when suddenly he heard a liquid flowing. He tensed as he walked slowly and then heard, and from the corner of his eyes he saw that a sludge monster was trying to sneak on him. He immediately turned his body on fire, burning the villain. As he backed, the villain shouted, You demon brat. Just stay quiet and I will take over your body, like I did let you. He said as the fire intensified and the sludge monster backed away until he was burned intensely and fainted. Just then a voice came, I am here. Izuku looked to see All Might standing and said, All Might, I already defeated him. Oh. Izuku, my boy, what are you doing here? As he put the villain in a bottle. I was just passing by when he tried to take over my body, but my senses told me he is inside the tunnel, so in self-defense I burned him away. Izuku replied nonchalantly, making All Might sweat drop as Izuku continued, Well, by All Might, see you at you. All Might slipped and said, as Izuku laughed and said, I bribed Uncle Mike and learned from him. See ya. All Might laughed and took off, and several buildings away he noted the bottle was gone. Izuku took a long route home to think about his life up till now and how to improve his quirk. He sighed when he smelled burning. He went to the area to see heroes gathered, and the sludge monster had taken over another kid's didn't All Might take him? Must have fallen down, he mused as he saw the kid and thought, looks familiar. Just then their eyes met and he ran towards him. All Might watched as Izuku ran inside, and while running Izuku figured out how to defeat him as he heard pros shouting for him to get back. He grabbed the kid and pulled him out thanks to the power he had from working out. The sludge monster saw him and said, You again. I'll kill you now. Izuku smirked as he lit himself on fire and propelled upwards, throwing the boy towards 𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗡, who caught him, and he gathered fire in his arm and shouted, Fire Dragon's Iron Fist. As the fire punch hit the eye of the sludge, and the sludge screamed as he fell unconscious due to the only physical part of him injured. As the people around cheered for the win and Izuku looked at his burnt sleeves, teased as he picked up a plastic bottle and put the villain inside, throwing it towards Death Arms. He began to walk away when All Might jumped down and said, Good job, young man. What incredible use of quirk. Just then the other pros arrived and 𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗡 said, You fool, what were you thinking risking your life like that? You could have died. After a moment of silence. You said something. Izuku said as he began to walk away. Hey kid. 𝗏𝗡𝗱 shouted as Izuku stopped and looked back as she went to him and kissed his cheek as she said, If you ever want to be a sidekick, then call me. He nodded as she said, By the way, what is your name? Izuku stopped again as he sighed as he turned around and ran a hand through his hair and said, Izuku Aizawa, do you have any more questions? No, she said as she rubbed the back of her head. He smiled as he began to walk away. Just as he reached home, he sat on the couch as Aizawa said, Hello brat, as Izuku smiled and said, Yo dad, yo demon kid, how many times have I told you to stay out of trouble? Aizawa said as Izuku rose an eyebrow and said, What did I do? Your little stunt of beating the sludge villain is live on TV. The headline is Middle School Boy Defeats Villain and Blows of the Pros, Aizawa said. Then Aizawa turned the TV on and the news was still on, showing Izuku getting kissed on the cheek by 𝗏𝗡𝗱, but his face showed only confused emotion. Just then his phone rang and he saw Ij written. He picked the phone and heard, Hey dude, I just saw what you did. It was manly, but are you okay dude? Yeah, I am fine, thanks for the concern Ij, Izuku replied and continued, By the way, prepare some training to enter you. And get Mina with you, it is not easy to enter you. Sure, dude, we'll do our best, Ijiro said as he cut the phone off. Just as he was about to put the phone down, another call came and he accepted it as Mina loud voice came, Aizawa. Are you okay? I just saw the news. Please tell me you are fine. Huh? Yeah, I am fine Mina, don't worry, the likes of those can't do anything to me, he answered. He heard a sigh of relief as she said, Thank goodness you're okay. Oh, and by the way, You better meet up with 𝐼𝐻 and train to enter you. And study because the written exam is hard, Izuku said as she laughed and said, sure, bye, Aizu-chan, take care. He laid on the couch and looked toward his father who was in his sleeping bag and said, hey dad, do you know any place for good training and workout? Aizawa smirked and said, yeah, tomorrow go take a look at 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟𝗏 Municipal Beach. Sure. He replied. He went to his room. Opening his laptop, he looked at a request for a new song and saw that it 𝗓𝗍𝗪. He sighed as he set up the equipments and started to sing. Payphone Maroon 5. I'm at a payphone trying to call home. All of my change I spent on you, where have the times gone? Baby, it's all wrong, where are the plans we made for two? Yeah, I know it's hard to remember the people we used to be. It's even harder to picture that you're not here next to me. You say it's too late to make it, but is it too late to try? And in our time that you wasted, all of our bridges burned down. I've wasted my nights. You turned out the lights. Now I'm paralyzed, still stuck in that time when we called it love. But even the sun sets in paradise. I'm at a payphone trying to call home. All of my change I spent on you, where have the times gone? Baby, it's all wrong, where are the plans we made for two? If happy ever afters did exist, I would still be holding you like this. All those fairy tales are full of it. One more stupid love song. I'll be sick. Oh, you turned your back on tomorrow. 'Cause you forgot yesterday I gave you my love to borrow, but you just gave it away. You can't expect me to be fine. I don't expect you to care. I know I've said it before, but all of our bridges burned down. I've wasted my nights. You turned out the lights. Now I'm paralyzed, still stuck in that time when we called it love. But even the sun sets in paradise. I'm at a payphone trying to call home. All of my change I spent on you, where have the times gone? Baby, it's all wrong, where are the plans we made for two? If happy ever afters did exist, I would still be holding you like this. All those fairy tales are full of it. One more stupid love song. I'll be sick. Now I'm at a payphone. Rap starts. Man. F*** that H***. I'll be out spending all this money while you're sitting round wondering why it wasn't you who came up from nothing, made it from the bottom. Now when you see me I'm stunting, and all of my cars start with a push of a button telling me the chances I blew up, or whatever you call it. 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟𝗘 the number 2. My phone, so you never could call it. Don't need my name on my show. You can tell it I'm ballin'. Swish. What a shame, could have got picked, had a really good game, but you missed your last shot. So you talk about who you see at the top or what you could have saw, but sad to say it's over for Phantom. Pulled up valet, open doors, was like go away, got what you was looking for. Now it's me who they want. So you can go and take that little piece of sh*** with you. Rap ends. I'm at a payphone trying to call home. All of my change I spent on you, where have the times gone? Baby, it's all wrong, where are the plans we made for two? If happy ever afters did exist, I would still be holding you like this. All those fairy tales are full of it. One more stupid love song. I'll be sick. Now I'm at a payphone. End song. He cleared his throat as he drank a glass of water and laid on the bed. The door opened as Aizawa peeked in and said, nice song. Thanks, Izuku said as he turned off the lights and slept. The next day he woke up, getting a shower. He wore a black sleeveless unzipped jacket over a white t-shirt and blue with red shoes and his regular scarf and headphones. He looked at a note on the fridge which said, I am going out. 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟𝗘 is called. You can eat out, the money is on the table, and visit the beach too. He smiled as he read his adoptive father's note, and taking the money he went out. He took the train and reached the beach and saw it was full of trash and grinned as he thought, now this is something challenging. It will take me about 7 months to clean. A good place indeed, Dad. He thought of some plans to clean the place as he walked on the streets to eat something when someone bumped into him and they both fell down, he on his butt and the other person on top of him. He opened his eyes to see a girl about his age was on top of him. She blushed as she saw him, and he too had a light blush on his face as he stood up and gave her a hand, which she took and got back up. He bowed a little as he said, my apologies, I didn't see where I was going. She also bowed and said, no. No, I also didn't see where I was going, so I am sorry too. As they both straightened, he saw that the girl had a very well-developed body, even more than some adult women. She was about 5 feet 8 inches and had black eyes and long black hair tied in a ponytail with a bang falling on her face. She also observed the boy. He had long black hair with green highlights, emerald eyes. He stood at 5 feet 9 inches and had a very ripped and sturdy body, as she had felt it when she fell on him. She then said, hello, my name is Momo Yaoyorozu, as she held her hand out. He took the hand, said, Izuku Aizawa on your service? She smiled, then he asked, do you know any good place to eat here? She looked shocked as she said, I was about to ask the same thing. He chuckled as he continued, well, I am not familiar with this area. By the way, what were you here for? Oh, me. She asked as she continued, well, I was here for the bookshop. Apparently there is a new book releasing which I want to buy. Oh, well, I don't have much to do, so will you mind if I accompany you? He spoke. Midnight had drilled manners into him, saying girls like a gentleman. She thought for a moment. Seeing no harm, she decided to accept his offer and said, sure. They walked to the store talking about the news when she said, wait. Aren't you the boy who defeated a villain yesterday? Yes, that small fry tried to take my body earlier, but I beat him, and then when I saw him again, I decided to repeat my actions, he said with a smile as she sweat dropped. They reached the store, and there she bought the book as he read and said, the world's most detailed encyclopedia. She blushed as she explained, well, it's because of my quirk. Can you tell me about it? He asked, curious. They saw a restaurant where they went inside and ordered some food. As they sat waiting, she said, well, as for your earlier question, my quirk is called creation. I can create anything if I know about its structure by using my body fat. He thought as he added, so basically it's like digestive system, or in short, poop. He looked up to see her face beet red and she was looking with a pout, her hands crossed over her chest as she said, well, excuse me for having a quirk which is like pee poop. He chuckled nervously as he apologized, mine, feisty, anyways I am sorry for offending you, as she turned to face him and smiled. Then a thought hit her, wait, what's your quirk? Oh sorry, I forgot, he said as the food arrived and he began to take large bites out of his meat, and after swallowing it, he said, my quirk is called 𝗧𝗟𝗧𝗟𝗧. He looked up to see her holding her laugh as she said, 𝗧𝗟𝗧𝗟𝗧. Seriously? You took the name from a comic? She giggled. He blushed as he said, well, I was 4, how could I name my quirk when I barely studied? She smiled as he continued, anyways, my quirk lets me breath fire, lit myself on fire, and also blessed or cursed me with enhanced sight, hearing and smell and strength. She looked at him in awe and said, such a strong quirk you have. He nodded as she asked, but what do you mean by cursed? In my opinion, the enhanced abilities are blessing. He sighed as he pointed towards his headphones and said, see these? Without these my ears bleed constantly due to hearing even the smallest sound. What you say near me, I think you're shouting, and with my uncle at home, my ears bleed bad, and if not for the headphones I would be deaf. Her eye widened as she inquired, oh, I see, but what about sight and smell? For smell, I can trace people, but think when someone stinks and your nose is too much sensitive you could die, and as for sight, trust me you will see things you don't want to see, she answered as he made a disgusted face. She understood as they finished the meal and she said, do you want to be a hero? He nodded and said, yes, I applied to you. And she brightened up as she said, me too, I was recommended. He smiled as he said, I was forced to accept recommendation? She sweat dropped, oh, what I am saying is that nearly everyone in you knows me, so they forced me take recommendation because I won't left robots for others, he told her while rubbing the back of his head. She giggled as she said, well, I hope we are in the same class. Aizawa-san, sure, but please call me Izuku. Aizawa is what people call dad, so it sounds weird, he told her. Then please call me Momo, Izuku-kun. She smiled as Izuku paid, despite of Momo's protest. They walked till the station when Izuku suddenly stopped in front of the train and began to sweat. She rose an eyebrow as she asked, Izuku-kun? He gulped as he said, please, Momo, anything but train. I don't want to go on that engine monster. Oh, come on. Izuku-kun, don't joke around, she giggled as she dragged him inside and sat with him. Just as the train started, she saw him turn green as she asked worriedly, oh my god. Izuku-kun, are you okay? Ugh, Momo. This is my core cuff drawback. Motion sickness, he choked out as she began to laugh as she wiped a tear and said, really? Motion sickness? Ugh. Come on. Don't rub your salt on the wound, he choked out. She smiled. Suddenly the train shook as Izuku fell on Momo's lap, burning her cheeks. Momo, you're the first person in whose lap my motion sickness is relieved. Please let me stay like this, he said with a pleased smile on his face. Not trusting her mouth, she just nodded. Her whole face turned red when she saw people taking pictures or some smiling at her. Both of their stops came as they got up and left as Izuku said, finally land, I love you so much. She giggled at his foolish actions as she said, well, goodbye, see you again, Izuku-kun. He shouted, wait. She stopped as he said, hey, at least take my contact number. She took out her phone as he gave her his number and she texted him back and he saved her number. Well, see you later, Momo, take care, he said as she began walking and said, see you, Izuku-kun. He reached home as he began to write a plan to clean the beach. Months had passed since Izuku had taken to clean the beach and was done with it and now used the place to train. Sometimes Momo came to train with him and he even invited Ichiro and Mina here to train, but he was unable to set up a meeting for them with Momo. Months ago he requested Netsu to administer the exams with Present Mic and he was granted permission. Now here he was standing outside 𝐻𝐼 Academy watching people go. Suddenly he saw a brown-haired girl fall. He was about to go help her when she was caught by an ash-blonde-hair boy. He scowled and said something to her and she thanked her as she ran inside. The boy saw him and that's when it clicked that he was the boy he had saved from the 𝗔𝗫𝗧𝗟𝗘. Hey you, I never asked for your help against the sludge monster, but I could have beaten him my self. He was not in any mood for argument, so after a moment he looked at the boy and said, You say something. The boy began screaming bloody murder as Izuku walked away and decided to skip Uncle Mick's annoying lecture. After 20 minutes he went inside and saw a blue-haired, glasses boy asking some question and acting like a robot. He walked to Present Mic and stood beside him as Mike said, You're late, Aizawa. It's been 20 minutes. I saw you outside, where were you? He shouted as he began fake crying as he said, You missed your Uncle Mick's lecture. Izuku smiled and said, I am sorry Uncle Mike, but a black cat crossed my path so I had to take the long route here. Everyone's sweat dropped at the obvious lie. The glasses boy stood up and said in a robotic way, It is not an appropriate behavior for a hero to arrive late. If you think this is fun and you are a tardy person, go home. Izuku turned towards the boy, took off his headphones, cleaned his ears, and after putting it back he said, You said something. Everyone fell anime style as Present Mic took everyone to their respective areas. Izuku went with Present Mic towards Area B. He watched as others questioned why Izuku was sitting with Present Mic, to which he answered himself, I am a recommended student so I don't need to give the exams, I just came to watch. Others were shocked. Mostly the glasses boy as Present Mic shouted go. Everyone looked up as Izuku said what? Get moving. In a real-life situation there is no countdown. Everyone charged forward as he watched the robots being destroyed here and there. He sighed as he laid down until the ground shook as he jumped up and crouched over the roof. His eyes landed on the massive zero-pointer robot coming forward. He held back the urge to face palm when he saw everyone running and no one helping the girls stuck in rubble and the robot coming over. Some heroes they will be, he thought sarcastically. He jumped down as he ran towards the girl, and when he saw no way to free her and run, he was left with the choice to destroy the zero-pointer. He grinned deviously as he jumped on the robot's arm and ran all the way till the top. Boosting himself with fire, he flew higher than the robot's height, and taking a deep breath, he shouted, Fire Dragon's Roar. The massive amount of flames that left his mouth were enough to melt the robot's face and quarter her torso, immobilizing it. He smirked as he used his flames to glide down. And time's up. Present Mic shouted, Did you see that? Holy, what power! No wonder he's a recommended student. Whispers began, but the blue-haired boy thought, Don't they see? Even though he was not a part of exam, he rushed to save the girl. If it wasn't an exam I would have done the same. Then he realized, could it be this was a secret to the exam too? Everyone was chatting as they sat on their respective seat when the gates burst open and a loud voice came, I am here like a normal person. Whoa, it really is All Might. Is he wearing his Silver Age costume? He looks so manly in person. Everyone talked as Izuku said, Yo. All Might sensei, Izuku my boy, how are you? All Might asked as Izuku shrugged and said, You know the usual. Oh, by the way, Bachan gave you a warning, next time she ain't gonna heal you. He paled a little as he laughed and said, Izuku my boy, little injuries are nothing. To be a hero one must be willing to sacrifice himself for others. All Might ended passionately. Hearing no response for a moment, he looked at Izuku. Everyone turned to see how he would respond as well when Izuku said, You said something, All Might. Everyone fell down as some shouted, Are you deaf? All Might looked a little down and said, Young Izuku, you used to be such a cute, chubby, and a good child. What did Aizawa do to you? Wait, All Might, you know Izuku? 𝗧𝗟𝗃 asked as All Might laughed and said, Yes, I used to play with him when he was a child. He came here regularly with Aizawa, so in my free time I played with him. Anyways, today we will be doing combat training. Combat? Izuku began interested in fighting as his inner dragon roared at him to fight. Training, finished Katsuki as he grinned too. All Might then motioned towards the briefcase and said, These contain your hero costumes, so wear them and come along. All Might instructed. Everyone took their costumes and entered the arena with Izuku arriving last. He was wearing Natsu's clothes which he wore during his fight with the twin dragons of Sabretooth. "Sorry I am late," Izuku said as he arrived, and everyone looked at him as he smiled. "You look good," Izuku X Momo said as she approached Izuku. He smiled as he turned to reply but froze as he looked at Momo. A light pink dust spread over his cheeks as he said, "Momo, isn't it revealing too much?" She herself blushed as she answered, "You know about my quirk, so I have to wear revealing clothes." "Oh, I understand. Anyways, you look appealing, Momo," he said with a warm smile. Her whole face turned scarlet as she whispered/yelled, "Baka. You weren't supposed to say that." He chuckled as he teased, Then what was I supposed to say?" She put her hands on her face to hide it, as a cough was heard and they both noticed everyone staring, in Bakugo's case glaring, at them. Izuku rubbed the back of his neck nervously as he flushed and quickly said, "Sorry, now as I was saying, All Might started. We will do heroes versus villain training. You will be placed in teams of 2. As you have seen that villain fights takes place outside, hence the ground from entrance exam, and you have to take care because this time you are not fighting robots. However, you must also keep damage to the lowest." Everyone began to ask questions rapidly, overwhelming All Might. "Will we be expelled if we do poorly? Are there any rules? How will the teams be drawn, based on skills or as per quirk which are easy to cooperate? How much can we hurt the other team?" All Might coughed loudly as everyone silenced, and he took out a script as he said, "Wait, let me answer your questions." Everyone's sweat dropped as Izuku thought, "Lame. Ahem. The teams will be drawn via lottery. You can't hurt the other too much, but don't worry, I will interfere if it gets dangerous. As for the rules, you have to capture the villains by defeating them, or you can just retrieve the device. You will also be given time to plan, but beware, for the heroes have disadvantage. They have time limit to get the device, or they lose, while villains have to protect it. As for the expulsion, don't fear it. There is no such thing in my class. Are you ready?" All Might explained, smiling. "Yeah." Everyone shouted. "Alright. Now Team A is Izuku and All Might said as he put his hand in the box and searched, "Let's see who my teammate will be. Better be someone interesting." Izuku watched with a single eye closed as he waited with interest to see his partner. "And 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗏. He finished as 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗏 had a very huge smile on his face as he grabbed Izuku and slid a hand over his shoulder and grabbing him in a tight hold as he yelled in an excited tone, "Look dude, we are on the same team, so manly." Yes, 𝐼𝐻, we are, but at least don't choke me," he replied as he said the last part while he turned a little pale. He let go of him and looked at Izuku while laughing sheepishly as he rubbed the back of his head. Meanwhile, All Might continued the team making. Team B was Mina and Momo, Team C 𝗒𝗓𝗓 and 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗏, Team D Katsuki and Tenya, Team E 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗏 and 𝗬𝗓, Team F 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗏 and 𝗓𝗓𝗓, Team G 𝗏𝗏𝗏 and 𝗓𝗓𝗓, Team H 𝐴Oyama and 𝐾Aminari, Team I 𝗔𝗓𝗓 and 𝗏𝗏𝗓𝗓, Team J 𝗔𝗓𝗓 and 𝗓𝗓𝗓. Have we pleased some kind of deity to get on a team with each other? Mina said with an pleased smile on her face. Yeah, too manly, 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗏 said as he put his hand on Izuku's shoulder again, but lightly this time. As everyone walked towards the building, All Might announced, "All right, for the first round, Team A versus Team B. Team B will be heroes while Team A will be villains. Please team A proceed towards the building and make a plan. You have 5 minutes." I spoke early, but anyways it will be fun. Good luck to you both, Mina said, waving. Momo smiled too as she said, "Good luck?" 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗏 smirked and said, "Same to you both." Izuku just nodded and the look in his eyes spoke that he was them good luck. As Izuku and 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗏 reached inside the building, they looked around and then 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗏 asked, "So, what's the plan? You remember their moves?" Izuku asked as 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗏 nodded and Izuku said, "Good. Alright, so first we will separate them, then we will knock them both out. You have seen how those two work together, and honestly if we want to win with no wounds and injuries, then we gotta divide and conquer, but we have the advantage for now. In this packed environment, Momo will think as a pro hero, keeping collateral damage to minimum while we villains have a free hand." 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗏 frowned and said, "That's not manly." "I know, but for now we are villains and we don't play fair," Izuku replied as Kirishima nodded. Izuku and Kirishima waited for the heroes to arrive, and after 5 minutes, Izuku could hear their footsteps. He looked over to the pillar where Kirishima was leaning and said, "They're here, go and try to divide them, or if possible try to capture one of them, I'll handle the other one." But if all else fails, follow them and make them stuck in a small room. I'll help you. Kirishima smirked and said as he ran outside the room towards Momo and Mina. Okay? Dude, I am going. Momo and Mina entered the building as Momo said, by now, Izuku would have heard us entering the building. We should be careful. And now I'll make some walking dolls so he can't figure out our exact location. She created dolls and sent them on their way as she and Mina went the opposite way. They had planned that they would go to the floor beneath the floor where the bomb is kept, and Mina would use her acid to break the roof and Momo would create a net to secure it. Plain and easy win. After walking for 2 or 3 minutes, they encountered Kirishima. Ha! There you are, heroes! Kirishima yelled as he made a fighting stance. The girls heard him and made their fighting stances as with a loud battle cry Kirishima ran at both the girls. Izuku, who was a floor above, heard the voice and grinned. He crouched down as he put his hand on the ground and made a hold through the ground, began to watch the fight and said, Hey, Ij, don't freak out, act as if I am not talking to you, I am watching the battle, let me help you be watched as Kirishima yelled, all right. Bring it. Momo created a staff as she tried to attack Kirishima from behind while he engaged Mina in a hand-to-hand fight. Hey, duck now. Izuku spoke as Ijiro ducked and the staff hit Mina in the face, sending her to the ground. Momo in panic lowered her guard, allowing Ijiro to sweep her off her feet. As Momo hit the ground, Kirishima took out the capture tape to bind Momo when Mina kicked him in the back. He didn't have fast reflexes to harden, as a result got shoot into the wall. Mina squealed and with a victory sign said, Scorch. She held a hand for Momo, who took it and stood up. Mina then went towards the fallen Kirishima and taking her capture tape out bent down while Momo was busy making a net. Suddenly Kirishima jumped up, startling Mina as she lost her composure, giving Kirishima enough time to pin her down and capture her. Momo, having seen this, gritted her teeth as she created a cannon and was about to fire it when Izuku came crashing down and broke the cannon, as he chopped Momo in the neck, knocking her out. Before her view faded, Izuku said, Sorry Momo, but it's your loss. Momo was falling down when Izuku caught her and held her bridal style. Aw man, we lost so easily, it's not fair. Mina whined, pouting. Huh, your plan backfired. Izuku buddy had already thought of possible ways to defeat you, so it was inevitable that you lost, Kirishima announced. Just then All Might's voice came from the speaker, the villain team wins, as they all began to leave with Izuku carrying Momo. So, young heroes, who do you think is the MVP of the match? All Might asked others as Izuku and his friends arrived. Momo had woken up in Izuku's arms and was a blushing and stuttering mess until she remembered her defeat, leading to a depressing cloud over her as Izuku comforted her. I think Aizawa is the MVP. He made the plan, and without anyone noticing helped Kirishima dodge their combined attacks and even came silently knocking the Yaoyorozu out, Todoroki said, and the others agreed as Izuku laughed and said, Sorry, but you are wrong. Everyone asked, confused, except All Might, who was interested in Izuku's reasoning. The real MVP is Ij here, Izuku said as he gestured at Kirishima, internally chuckling at his friend's stunned face. Listen, I have made plans, but the one to act on them was Ijiro. If he would have made a mistake while dodging, he would have been overwhelmed. If his fake act of staying unconscious was discovered, or he would not have hardened his front side, he would have been injured badly or captured and would not have taken Momo and Mina by surprise, allowing me to defeat Momo and he himself Mina, so this is why he is the MVP, Izuku said, smiling as Kirishima's expression turned proud. Izuku put a hand on his shoulder and said, See, Ij, I told you to leave your insecurities behind and you can be a cool hero, as Kirishima smiled and said, Thanks buddy. Nah, it was nothing me, all you, Izuku replied. So, you did not take credit but let your friend take the credit so he could leave his doubts behind and learn to be a good hero, even though if the plan would have failed you could have defeated the girls easily, done like a true hero, Izuku. If I leave a successor it would be you or someone like you, Izuku, All Might thought. Yes, you are correct young Izuku, but let us continue now. Team C versus Team H, with Team H villains and Team C heroes, All Might ordered. Whoa, you all were awesome man, Kaminari said. Yeah, wish our match would be cool too, Ochako said. Izuku, your planning was good. Azui said the compliments came as everyone talked and then watched all other battles. It has been a few days since the Quirk assessment test and combat training, however, nearly everyone has one thought on their mind, so normal seeing present Mike teaching English language. While two individuals were thinking, the fourth sentence is wrong. After that class Aizawa came and said, I have seen your combat training, all of you did a good job. He then looked at Izuku and said, good planning. And Izuku nodded as he turned towards Mina and said, always be alert. You saw how you lowered your guard, giving Kirishima the opportunity to capture you. Mao, I get it, she answered. And Yaoyorozu, you made a good plan but forgot some important things. Anyways, always be aware of your surroundings. A villain can always come from anywhere. He doted as she nodded her head. Kirishima, you did a good job, but instead of shouting that you're here like All Might, try to hide and attack and startle them, but you did good. Bakugo, control your temper, it will not be tolerated. This isn't your previous school. Todoroki, have more control over your quirk. Freezing the whole building was foolish. You could have even disabled your comrades or hostages if there were any. Mineta, if you don't stop being a pervert then you're moving to general department, Aizawa scolded, and all the while giving advices. The class had made it a mission to sit together during lunch break and talk, but Todoroki sat alone while Bakugo went to the roof. Izuku was eating while everyone was talking about their hobbies when suddenly Momo asked something which she didn't ask in nearly a year she has known Izuku. Izuku, what are your hobbies? He was about to answer when Mina said with a smile, singing. He paled, thinking what would happen if everyone learned he was a 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘. He lied smoothly, oh come on, don't joke Mina, my hobby are reading, listening to music and training. Jiro, interested in the conversation, asked, whose music do you listen to? 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘, answered Jiro, grinning like an idiot as he choked on his food. As a concerned Momo asked, are you okay? Yes, I am fine, thank you, he answered with a soft smile as she smiled back. Unknowingly both looked at each other until a cough was heard and they straightened as a few snickers were heard spreading pink across their cheeks. Izuku coughed and said, yeah, I listen to 𝗏𝗧𝗧𝗟𝗘 songs. Nearly everyone had stars in their eyes as they said, man, he is the best singer in Japan right now, mysterious yet cool. Wish I could meet him someday. Izuku from the corner of his eyes saw Mina clasping her hands together and grinning deviously as he sent her a warning glare. She smiled at him innocently as she turned towards her classmates and said, well, I know 𝗏𝗧𝗧𝗟𝗘 personally. I have even met him a few times. No way, really. Everyone shouted as Mina said, yep, me, Ij and Aizu-chan have met 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘. He is after all a very very good friend of Aizu-chan. Izuku paled as everyone turned towards him. He smiled a little as he said, haha, yet he knew no one believed him, so he said, well, for proof you all can agree on a single type of song which I will ask him to upload today at 8 sharp, how's that? Everyone brightened and nearly cheered for him as they all began to chat for a song, so they drew straws until Izuku opened his phone and texted Mina, Mina, if you or Ij open their motor mouth further, I will personally upload that on my site. He smirked when he saw Mina flinch and pale as she showed Ij the text, who paled too, and they both sent pleading looks toward him as his smirk widened. Have you decided yet? He asked as they all nodded, and Jair said, we want a song which includes hero. Sure, be ready at sharp 8, I'll tell him to do it, and live. Izuku said as they all nodded. He noticed Momo sending a suspicious glance at him. He sighed. He knew he had to tell her. She had earned his trust, and not to mention he was beginning to develop feelings for her. They all got up and moved towards class as lunch break ended and studied. After school, Izuku was walking with everyone as he saw Momo's eyes on him. He sighed as he said, well, everyone bye, they all said as he made eye contact with Momo, and she nodded. He went ahead and walked into an alley. He smelled Momo coming near him as he grabbed her hand and closing her mouth he pulled her in. She was about to fight when she saw who it was and calmed down. He let her go as she hit him on the head. Ow, he whispered/yelled. She huffed and said, that's for scaring me. All right, sorry. He apologized as he became serious and said, I noted you have something to say. She nodded as she asked, do you really know 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 personally? Yes, he said as she was surprised, but then asked how. He sighed as he said, read 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 backwards. She was confused until she did so, and her eyes widened and jaw dropped as she stuttered, oh, good. Why you're you 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘, meaning reverse of Izuku. He nodded and she looked hurt and said, and you never told me. 𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘, that's what I was scared for. He thought as he said, no, I wanted to tell you, but you know, how could I just say, hey Momo, I am 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘. She understood as he continued, but listen, please don't tell anyone. Why? You could become so famous and rich, she asked as he nodded and said, yes, I know, but being popular is not good. I know it personally. In middle school whatever I did the girls would swoon and the boys would become jealous because of my looks. I was quite popular and seriously I hated every bit of it. I just don't like attention. You can say I am like dad on that department." She smiled as she then kissed his cheek, making a small blush spread over his face as she said, "Thank you for trusting me, 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐴𝐴." He smiled back as he began to walk alongside her, both of them feeling comfortable with each other's company until they reached the station. Izuku visibly tensed and began sweating. "Momo, why don't we walk home?" She just looked at him with a deadpan look and said, "Really? You want to walk back? It would take us hours. Get in now. Please. Momo. Have mercy," he begged as she sighed and grabbing his ear dragged him in the train as she said, "All right, I'll let you use my lap, okay?" He brightened up a little as they both sat and Momo asked, "So, 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐴𝐴, what will you do about the song?" He smirked as he said, "I have written some songs in advance, and luckily a hero song is there, so I will sing it." "So that's why you gave them today's date?" She realized that why he gave today's date for a song. He nodded in return as the train started making him green as Momo shook her head sighing as she put him in her lap, and after a while she thought out loud, "What am I going to do with you? What will you do in future? If only I am able to get rid of your motion sickness." And even though it gave her a aching heart she mumbled, "And won't your future wife be angry?" But Izuku's ears weren't for show. He heard everything and mumbled in his sleep, "Don't worry, Momo, I will only marry you." She heard this and blushed red and sat in silence, her head filled with fantasies of her and Izuku. The train ride ended as Izuku got out and breathed out huge breath and said, "Finally, land. Come on Momo, I'll walk you home," Izuku said as Momo protested, but he didn't listen and grabbed her hand as he said, "Come on, Momo, your safety is important. So I'll walk you home." She blushed and not trusting her voice to answer she just gave a nod and let Izuku walk her home, all the while holding her hand. "Well, we are here. Bye Momo," Izuku said as he waved at her, but she came close to him and kissed his cheek and squeaked out, "Thank you," and ran inside her house. Izuku stood there with a dumbfounded look on his face, but it soon turned into a grin as he touched his cheek where Momo and kissed and walked back home feeling hyped. Momo ran inside her home. Coming to a stop she turned red having the scene of her kissing Izuku run through her head. "I can't believe I kissed him," she thought, but his shocked look was kind of cute, she squealed inwardly. Momo's mother came to her and said, "Welcome home, sweetie. How was your day?" "It was good," she replied, feeling very good as she had kissed Izuku. Her mom seemed to notice her tone as she said in a teasing tone, My, Momo, did you finally confess to the Izuku boy you talk about?" "No, but I kissed his cheek today," Momo replied, but then she realized what her mom said and she turned and red and sputtered, "No. It's okay, honey, I am just teasing, but remember to introduce him to us," her mom said as she walked away leaving her still red. "Our daughter is all grown up," Momo's dad said as he wiped a tear from his eye as her mother said, "Well, it was bound to happen anyways. She will be inviting this boy someday, and we will know who this boy is." "Yes, and we will learn if he is good for Momo or not," Momo's dad said. Izuku had reached home and looked at the clock. "It's 5, let's sleep for a while. At 7 when dad comes home he'll wake me and then I'll prepare for a song." He then dozed off. After 2 hours he was woken up by Aizawa opening the door as he said, "Hello dad. Welcome home." He then yawned as Aizawa answered, "I am home, and hello to you to Izuku." He then saw Izuku getting ready and said, "Another song?" He nodded and said, "That Mina and 𝐒𝐮𝐬𝐴𝐴. They told my classmates that they know 𝗒𝐮𝐬𝐴𝐴, so my classmates requested a song." "All right, but your jacket and mask are under your blanket in the cupboard," Aizawa said. "Oh, thanks dad," Izuku said as he ran to his room. "𝐒𝐮, the kids made us rich, but I am actually dreading the day where he would be revealed and then we would have to move to the 𝗧𝗪𝗪 mansion that we had bought if we ever need to get away in case his identity is revealed." Aizawa thought, "So troublesome, I need some goddamn sleep," Aizawa mumbled as he walked to his room. Meanwhile Izuku had set up his equipments, making his room dark and lighting his jacket and mask. He turned the webcam on and live stream on. As he said, "Hello everyone, this is your one and only 𝗒𝐮𝐬𝐴𝐴, and today, I had been requested to sing a hero song from the friends of my very close friend that are in class 1 of you. So let us begin." Music starts. "I'm just a step away, I'm just a breath away, losing my faith today, falling off the edge today. I am just a man, not superhuman. I'm not superhuman. Someone save me from the hate, it's just another war, just another family torn, falling from my faith today. just a step from the edge, just another day in the world we live. I need a hero to save me now. I need a hero, save me now. I need a hero to save my life. A hero save me, just in time. I've gotta fight today to live another day. Speak into my mind today, my voice will be heard today. I've gotta make a stand, but I am just a man. I'm not superhuman. My voice will be heard today. It's just another war, just another family torn. My voice will be heard today. It's just another kill. The countdown begins to destroy ourselves. I need a hero to save me now. I need a hero, save me now. I need a hero to save my life. A hero save me, just in time. I need a hero to save my life. I need a hero just in time. Save me just in time. Save me just in time. Who's gonna fight for what's right? Who's gonna help us survive? We're in the fight of our lives, and we're not ready to die. Who's gonna fight for the weak? Who's gonna make em believe? I've got a hero. I've got a hero living in me. I'm gonna fight for what's right today. I'm speaking my mind, and if it kills me tonight, I will be ready to die. A hero's not afraid to give his life. A hero's gonna save me just in time. I need a hero to save me now. I need a hero, save me now. I need a hero to save my life. A hero save me, just in time. I need a hero who's gonna fight for what's right. Who's gonna help us survive? I need a hero who's gonna fight for the weak. Who's gonna make em believe? I need a hero. I need a hero. A hero's gonna save me just in time. Music ends. Well, everyone, thank you for listening. I hope you liked my songs and be ready for another song next week. By 𝗧𝗬𝗧𝗟𝗘, he said. As Izuku turned off the music, took his clothes off, and went to take a shower. After a long half-an-hour shower, he came out wearing only his boxers. He picked his phone and saw that in class 1 a group chat they were messaging him. Chat. Good. Izuku, you actually did it. 𝗧𝗬𝗧𝗟𝗘 even mentioned us. So awesome. Tura, yeah. I can't believe you were telling the truth, Izuku. But thanks, by the way. Tell him the song was awesome. Yeah? So manly. 𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘. It was so cool, Mina. Yes. It was great. Momo, who the F told him to mention us, but anyway the song was F good. My F favorite type of music. Bakugo, no way. Bakugo, you like music too, 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗟. Of course I F do. Who the hell said I don't? Bakugo, okay, but anyway man, the song was cool. Can't wait for next week, 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗟. Yeah, me too. I hope it's another awesome song. Uraraka, all his songs are marvelous. Ida, has anyone seen him unmasked? Aizawa, I have. Mina, me too. Kirishima, same here. Momo, I am practically his best friend, right? Ij and Mina. Izuku, yeah? Mina and Ij, what, you have seen him? Mineta, can you introduce us? Tokoyami, yeah. Please introduce me too. Jur said, I would like to meet him too. Koda, me too. Shoji, he's a little shy, so we can't introduce him. Sorry. Mina, yep. He's very shy, that's why he hides behind a mask. Kirishima, yes, that's correct. It took a lot of requesting to get him to meet us. Momo, oh, that's a bummer, but I really hope we can see him. Turu, yet Uraraka and Jiru, well, everyone, I am tired. I am going. By Izuku, those idiots. I'll get them back for this, Izuku thought. He then went and opened his laptop to see so many requests of people to come to their shows, but he declined and told them he wasn't ready to reveal himself. He replied to all the fans as they complimented him and saw that in only 2 hours, he had gained around $100,000. He was surprised this was his most popular song then, as he had made this much money this fast. He sighed as he saw the money had gone to Aizawa's account. He turned the laptop off and went to sleep. Aizawa received a message as he saw that Izuku's song had led him to gain $100,000 in 2 hours and the money was in his account. His eyes bulged and thought, what the F did the kid sing? After a moment he said F it as he put the phone back and went to sleep. Next day, Izuku was walking to school with Momo, Mina and Ijiro as reporters swarmed them and began asking, All Might teaches at UA, what do you think? How does he teach? Momo, Mina and Kirishima were getting nervous and looked at Izuku for support when Izuku took his headphones off and cleaned his ears, and wearing them again he said in a lazy tone, You say something. Causing everyone to sweat drop, he walked ahead but stopped and looked at his friends and said, Why you standing there? Walk ahead, I am coming, as he ignored their shocked looks. He stood there as one reporter said, Hey, aren't you the one who defeated the sludge villain? Oh yeah, I did, he replied as he began walking when he was held back and crowded around as one said, What can you say about that villain? He was weak, that's all, he answered and looked for a way to get out. How does All Might teach? One asked, like how the others teach. Now can you let me go? He asked. After 10 minutes he was free and he went to the class and ectoplasm said, You're late. Sorry, a black cat crossed my path and I had to take the long way round so that I don't get cursed, Izuku said with a straight face. Everyone's sweat dropped and thought, liar. He shrugged and said, can I sit down? Okay, but don't be late the next time, ectoplasm said as Izuku sat down. After his class, Aizawa arrived, making everyone silenced as Aizawa said, today, you have to do something important. Everyone straightened up and got ready to listen when Aizawa continued, making a class president and vice president. Everyone was interested in becoming except for Izuku, who put his head down while growing as everyone had started shouting, hurting his ears. He pressed his headphones tightly on his ears. Shut up. Aizawa's voice rang in the class, making them quiet as he said, you're hurting Izuku's ears. Sorry, Izuku, everyone said and felt bad. But Ida stood up and said, we should decide by vote, as everyone said yeah. The votes were given and the result were, Izuku 8 Momo 5 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 2. Who voted for me? Izuku said as he looked around and recognized all girls except for Uraraka and Mina gave him votes, and from boys it was Ida as he was giving him thumbs up and Tokoyami who was nodding at him along with Aoyama and 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘. So, the class president is Izuku and vice president is 𝗧𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗧, Aizawa said. Izuku smiled and said, well, thanks for voting for me, I'll do my best. Momo nodded and started a speech which Izuku cut off and said, what she is saying is that she will do her best too. Yes, that, Momo said as she pouted at Izuku for taking her speech paper away. She had readied it in case she became the class president or vice president. Izuku smiled apologetically as he said, sorry, but it's about time for lunch. They reached their table as Izuku sat alone on a table as the other was full. He was about to eat when Momo came and said, can I sit with you? He smiled warmly at her, making her heart skip a beat as he said, sure. She sat very close beside him and their arms were only an inch apart as Izuku asked, why did you vote for me? She answered, I voted for you along with others because we thought you were capable enough to handle everything. Thanks, but I voted for you thinking the same thing. He answered. She blushed as she then hit him on the shoulder and said, but you didn't have to ruin my speech, you know. He laughed as he said, oh, come on, Momo. Who would have listened to speech? They are boring. You know, she pouted as she said, you wouldn't have listened. Nope, he answered as she was disappointed, but he continued, I would have only stared at you, as he teased her, making her eyes widen and cheeks gaining pink. She then started to hit him on the chest as she chanted, idiot, 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 while he laughed. Kirishima looked at the two and smiled as he said, hey everyone, look at our class reps. Everyone turned to look at Momo and Izuku and smiled, but Mineta said, demand it. Cool boys like him always take the hot girls. Yeah, they should be imprisoned, Kaminari said. He is not only cool but smooth too, you know. Even a lady kissed his cheek, Mina told them. No way? 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 said in disbelief when Jiro said, yes, it's true, and she did it on live TV when Izuku defeated the sludge villain in a single hit and saved 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. Yeah, I saw it too, Toru said with Azui, Tokoyami, Koda and Kirishima nodding. Demon, he is something else, 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗧 whistled. Just then the alarm rang as everyone panicked and started to run. Izuku and Momo also stood up but were pushed around. Izuku saw someone hit Momo in the ribs with an elbow and she winced. He gritted his teeth as he grabbed her hand and pulled her towards him and wrapped his arms around her protectively so she wouldn't get hurt. Izuku-kun, what are you doing? Momo asked quietly. Do you trust me? He asked as she looked in his eyes and said, with my life. He smiled as he said, good, so hold on, I won't do anything improper to you. I know, but we are so close. I got nervous, she replied as flashed her a grin. He looked outside and saw reporters had gotten in and said, Momo, a loudspeaker and headphones please. She looked at him confused but then realized what he planned. She blushed and said, here. He nodded and said, I'll cover you. She nodded as he pulled her to his chest, only giving space for her to unbutton her clothes as she made a loudspeaker and a pair of headphones buttoned up as he smiled. He then said, wear the headphones. She nodded as she wore them and he turned on the loudspeaker and shouted, everyone shut up. The voice came so loud that everyone stopped and looked at him. He sighed as he said, idiots, this is no villain attack. The reporters have broken the barrier and entered inside. So calm down, you are running here and they're like idiots and hurting others. Everyone calmed down as they started to leave slowly as Izuku said, come on Momo. They both left. In class, hey, here comes the class rep. Excellent job, President. Yeah, you were so cool. You stopped them with just a shout. He laughed nervously as he said, oh, it was all thanks to Momo. Everyone said if she hadn't created the loudspeaker I wouldn't have stopped everyone. It was all her plan, Izuku said with a smile. Whoa, so cool, as expected of our class rep. Yeah, you rock, Vice President. She looked at Izuku, who flashed her a grin as she smiled and said, thank you everyone. While going home, Momo gave Izuku a kiss on the cheek again and said, this is for giving me credit. He smiled cheekily and said, if I get free kisses for giving you credit, I should do it more. She giggled as she hit him playfully on the arm and they both walked together. Later, Nezu and the other teachers saw that the barrier had been completely destroyed and they knew it was a job of a villain and something big will happen soon. In the class, Izuku is sitting bored and waiting for his dad to come and announce what he told him today. The door opened and in came Aizawa. It's about time, Dad. I thought I would die bored. Shut up, I was not that late, brat, Aizawa answered. Izuku snorted as he noticed the class had straightened up. Now, as I had come to say before I was interrupted, Q a glare at Izuku. Today we will be going to USJ faculty, also called the Unforeseen Simulation Joint, to do hero training. So go get your hero costumes and board the bus. Aizawa finished. We are going to USJ. Awesome. Finally some interesting place, Izuku said as he got up to go get his hero costume. As they all got ready and got out of the campus, Izuku came last, looking happy until he saw the bus and went as white as milk. Oh, Dad, I am not going on that abomination. I won't, Izuku said, getting ready to run. You don't have a choice, Aizawa said, grinning in amusement at his son's antics. No, I'd rather die than get on in that thing, Izuku said, pointing at the bus. Mina and Kirishima started laughing loudly, while putting a hand over each other's shoulder for support and another at their stomachs, while Momo was just smiling at Izuku. Oh, come on, Izuku, why are you acting like this? Jiraiya asked, annoyed. Yeah, it's not that bad, just a bus ride, Kaminari said, smiling in amusement. Izuku tried to run but was caught by Aizawa's capture gear. As Aizawa said, you aren't going anywhere, no? Izuku's pained voice came as he was thrown on the seat. Everyone quickly filled the bus, but no one was allowed near Izuku by Aizawa except for Momo. He knew she could heal his motion sickness. Mr. Aizawa, why is Izuku given such a large space? 𝗂𝗓𝗓 asked. Aizawa smirked and said, you'll see. Just as the bus engine started, Izuku visibly turned green and said, Dad. Please stop, you bus. It hasn't even moved yet, Aizawa said, deadpanned, though there was a hint of smile on his lips. The bus started as Izuku started to turn more green and was falling here and there as he mumbled, Kentuck. Must endure. The hell is this? He's turned green. 𝗧𝗧𝗟 laughed along with Kaminari. Just look at him. Ha, Kaminari laughed. Mr. Aizawa. Tourist. It's his quirk's drawback, giving him an extreme case of motion sickness, Momo explained, though she too was smiling slightly. With this everyone laughed as Mineta said, such a powerful quirk, and what a drawback to motion sickness. Can't it be cured? 𝗂𝗓𝗓 asked. No, everything he tried failed, Mina said as she continued, but Momo tensed. She knew what Mina was going to tell. Yamamoto can cure him. She does every time, Mina said, smiling deviously. Momo was feeling embarrassed as everyone was looking at her, and then Tokoyami asked, how? As if on cue. Izuku sniffed and said, Momo. Momo. Lap. Izuku then fell down on Momo's lap as his sickness was gone and he shouted, yeah. Finally I am revived. Haha, thanks Momo, he finished as he grinned at Momo, making her blush. This is how he is cured. Kirishima added, laughing. What? That Diamond BSRD is so lucky, he lies in a hot babe's lap and he get cured, Mineta shouted as he was hit by 𝗂𝗓𝗓's tongue, effectively shutting him up. Yeah, that's not fair, Kaminari said as he looked at Momo and Izuku, but shut up when he saw Mineta being smacked. Well, anyways, I still think his quirk is too strong, totally pro-material, 𝗧𝗧𝗟 said. Yeah, Izuku, Bakugo and Todoroki are all pro-material with their quirks too, Kirishima said. Yeah, but Bakugo would never be popular with his attitude, while Izuku would be the most if you even add the looks and attitude, 𝗂𝗓𝗓 added. What the hell, you wanna fight? Bakugo, who was sitting beside Uraraka, stood up. See? Tsuyu pointed out. Yeah, it's been some days, but we know that Izuku can get any girl he wants and Bakugo's personality is like CRP steeped in sewage. Kaminaro added his views. Hey, he's not that bad. He'll improve, Uraraka said, smiling as Bakugo had a faint pink on his cheeks. Nah, he'll be the same, or I think even more in the dumps, Kaminari said. I'll kill you. Yeah, FBS 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗟𝗘 shouted. How vulgar, Momo whispered. Don't mind them, Momo. Just enjoy with me. Izuku winked at her, making her embarrassed. The bus stopped as they reached 𝗓𝗓𝗧 as Aizawa said, all right, we're here. Get out. Izuku jumped out of Momo's lap and ran outside shouting, I am free. Finally land, everyone's sweat dropped at him, even the pro hero 13 too. Oh hey 𝗏𝗡, it's been so long right? Izuku grinned at 13. Hello Aizawa. It's good to see you too, and yes, it's been a long time, 13 said as she ruffled Izuku's hair with her spacesuit hand. Whoa, the pro hero 13 Ochako said, you know even her. Momo asked. Of course, 𝗏𝗡, is so cool. We used to play when I was little. She would be my sidekick and I would be a pro, right 𝗏𝗡? Izuku answered, yes, but let us first discuss why we are here. 13 said as he began walking ahead with everyone in tow. 13, where is All Might? I thought he would be here too, Aizawa asked. Oh, he would be here, he was held up, 13 answered, then turned towards the children after everyone had entered the faculty. Well, as you know, I am the rescue hero 13, and TMY Quirk is black hole. Anyways, today we will practice rescue exercises. Many of you here present, including me, have a quirk that can even kill others if you aren't careful, so we will divide between heroes and villain pairs. 13's explanation was cut off by a black vortex appeared in the middle with thug-like people coming out. Whoa, there are even fake villains here, Kirishima exclaimed with huge excitement that was obvious in his voice. Izuku tensed and assumed a battle stance, his eyes turning serious along with 13 and Aizawa's. They are not fake, they are the real deal, Aizawa said. He noticed everyone scared and said, everyone stay back, son. You too? Izuku was shocked and said, but, listen, Izuku, it's my job to protect you. I know you have some experience so you'll be fine, but it's their first time. Help them be stable. Got it? Izuku answered. Greeting heroes, we are the League of Villains and we have come here to kill All Might. A blue-haired boy with hands covering him said, Shigaraki, you can't tell them your plan. The black portal. Now a man said, what can they even do? 𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘, they will die today. Get them. The boy with hands covering him, now identified as Shigaraki, said. Kaminari, try to send a distress signal to you. And Ida, run back and call backup, Izuku instructed. Got it, Kaminari said, but how can I leave you? Ida questioned, just go. If you stay and just beach around that it's unhero-like, then we all will be killed, Izuku shouted as Ida hesitantly turned around and started to run until 𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘 appeared. Bakugo's Todoroki, shoot, but at the only solid part of him, he looks to be intangible, Izuku spoke. On it, Todoroki said as he aimed his ice at 𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘's collar as 𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘 dodged it, but Bakugo jumped from behind him to attack at him. Die, UBS, Bakugo shouted as he threw an explosion at the collar, making 𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘 startled as he missed, teleporting Ida, who ran away. He then teleported to Shigaraki and said, one got away. Well, doesn't matter, kill them anyway, but separate them. Today we will play divide and conquer. Chi asked. Sure, 𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘 said while Aizawa was beating the thug villains. 𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘 then came and teleported everyone, but at the last second thought, I'll send that scarf brat to the furthest area. He seems trouble. He then sent everyone away. Momo landed with Azui, the second pair Aoyamamina and Mineta landed at the same place. The third includes Todoroki, Hagakure and Ojiro. Bakugo got with Uraraka against 𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘. Tokoyami, Jairu and Kaminari landed in a pair. Shoji Kodo were a pair and Sato and Siro were the last to be paired. Izuku landed alone in the fire zone. Izuku stood straight and looked around and saw no one was with him, but he smelled different and unfamiliar smells here, so he knew there was company. I know you are all there, better come out. Izuku shouted one by one. About 20 thugs came in front of him as one said, you are pretty smart, kid. Now why don't you surrender peacefully, as we are 20 and you are single? So what? Izuku asked as he put his guard up. What? You must be joking, kid, you can't win, give up, the villain said, smirking. Do you know that fire is literally my element, so prepare to die, Izuku said as he grinned. Izuku took a huge breath and shouted, fire, dragon's roar. Shooting out a huge stream of flames, burning every villain in his path. He had output enough temperature to give the villains second and minor third-degree burns, enough to knock them out for a while. Not even a warm-up, Izuku snorted, but then looked around. He saw no one there, so he literally in all the flames from the fire zone as he burped and said, ah, nice meal. He then ran to find the others. Nearly some time ago, Momo and Azui had landed in the flood zone. Momo was in the water about to be attacked by a shark mutant villain when 𝗂𝐲𝐸 kicked him away, and wrapping her tongue around Momo she took her and jumped from the water to the ship. Momo coughed out water as she crouched to hide from the villains outside as she said, "Thanks 𝗬𝗎. No problem 𝗧𝗪," she replied, seeing the 6 to 7 villains outside the ship. 𝗂𝐲𝐸 asked, "Any plan?" Momo rubbed her chin as she thought of something when an idea struck her and she asked, "How far can you jump carrying me?" 𝗂𝐲𝐸 put a finger to her chin as she thought and said, "I can jump a little before the end of the flood zone while carrying you." Then let's do this." She created some insulators and applied it to herself as she was wet. Then she made a battery about the size of a car battery and wire. She connected the war to the battery and threw it down on the villains. The villains, being the idiots they were, watched it fall down in water as a huge electric current came into the water, electrocuting the villains as they all got knocked out. She then cut the wire off as she and 𝗬𝗎 jumped across the flood zone till they were hidden in little water. They watched as everyone gathered and were hiding in places, everyone spotting each other. Even 𝗓𝗪𝗧𝗟𝗘 had returned, though his metallic nape looked a bit damaged. She spotted nearly everyone except Izuku, and her heart stopped for a second as she thought, "Where is Izuku-𝐻? I don't see him anywhere. Could he be? No, I have faith he will come." Like always, she then spotted a black bird-like creature who had muscles that could be compared to All Might, and his brain was sticking out of his head. It looked hideous, like a man and a crow fused together. He was standing above Mr. Aizawa, who looked very badly beaten up, and she saw the Shigaraki boy put his hand on Mr. Aizawa's elbow as the skin began to crumble or decay. And the meat could be seen. She nearly puked. Then she saw Shigaraki grin as he said, "A Might isn't here, so let's kill some kids to hurt his pride." As he started to run towards them, his hand closing in on 𝗬𝗎 and grabbed her when nothing happened. She heard her, "You really are awesome." Eraserhead, she looked to see Mr. Aizawa with his quirk active and eyes glowing. He had erased the villain's quirks. Acting quickly, Momo created a staff as she hit Shigaraki in the face, sending him away, and said, "Don't touch her." Shigaraki groaned as he stood back up and scratched his neck furiously and shouted, "Gnome, kill the beach." The Numo lunged forward at her as everyone shouted, "𝗂𝐿Momo/𝗂𝗪𝗧𝗟𝗍𝗪." The Nomu punched as the wind blew. Everyone thought 𝗂𝗪𝗧𝗟𝗪 was gone until the smoke cleared and no one was there. Then they saw behind the Nomu, Izuku standing with Momo in his arms, bridal style, as he said in a soft voice, "I told you, didn't I, Momo? No one would harm you till I am here." Momo opened her eyes to see a grinning Izuku looking at her. She hugged him tightly as she said, I was so scared, I thought he would. Tears coming out of her eyes as she trembled. He hugged her closer and whispered, "Shh, it's okay. I am here for you." He wiped her tears with his thumbs as he flashed in an amazing speed towards the other hidden students and said, "Mina, take care of her," as he sat Momo near Mina. He then used his hands as a propeller and shot behind the Nomu. He picked up 𝗂𝐲𝐸 and shot flames from his feet and jumped, reaching Mina, and said, "Here," as he placed 𝗂𝐲𝐸 down too. Now then he stopped mid-sentence when he saw his dad's bleeding body laying on the ground. "Dad." He cried as he went to his father's side, kneeling down, checked his heartbeat, and sighed in relief as he picked up Aizawa and slowly walked towards the group of students, his eyes shadowed by his hairs. "What are you looking at, you fool? Get him," Shigaraki ordered the Nomu. The Nomu launched at a very high speed, but before he could hit he was violently burned as the Nomu screeched and looked at its hand, which was crisped. Everyone was shocked. Izuku was never like this. He silently walked to the group and carefully placed Aizawa by a rock, and in a very deadly calm tone he said, "Look after him." He then walked back towards the Nomu as he looked up, making everyone gasp. His eyes had white slits between them and they looked intimidating, and his fangs had grown too. He then gritted his teeth as the doors of the faculty smashed open and the heroes along with Ida came as he shouted, "I have brought reinforcement. Now, I am here, let us do the job, kids." All Might said, "Shut up." Izuku's voice rang across the faculty, taking everyone by surprise, but the slits in his eyes even more surprised them. Izuku turned back towards the Nomu and clenching his fist he said, You monster! You hurt Dad. You hurt my dad. How dare you!" He shouted at the end as a crimson flame came over him. He then shouted, "Fire dragons," as he shot forwards at an amazing speed. "No, stop." The heroes shouted, even the students. Iron Fist. Izuku finished punching the Nomu, burning his face, elbow, Wing attacked talons, claws, solar plexus, sword horn. Izuku attacked rapidly and brutally, hitting blows after blows, not even giving a second to heal. He then crouched down as more crimson fire came and he said, "I'll blow you away from here." Fire Dragon Slayer's secret art. Hidden fire form, Crimson Lotus Phoenix Blade. The crimson flames wrapped around Izuku as he shot upwards, striking the Nomu in the stomach as he flew upwards. The flame taking the shape of a huge blade as they both went and strike the roof as the Nomu flew out and Izuku was falling down but used his flames to save himself. After defeating the Nomu, he looked to see Shigaraki and 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘 had escaped. He growled as he closed his eyes. Looking in the sky, he roared, "𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐸𝐴!" A dragon cry spread around the faculty as everyone covered their ears and listened as Izuku roared, and after a few moments, he stopped and came to the group. He kneeled down, hoisted his dad in his arms. He walked away quietly. The top of his hero costume burned off, leaving him in a plain sleeveless black t-shirt. Everyone just stared at his back as he went to the ambulance, put Aizawa there, and then went to where All Might and the others were as he said, "Sorry about telling you all to shut up. I lost it when I saw Dad hurt." "No worries, young Izuku, but what you did afterwards was pretty reckless but brave." All Might said, "Yeah, what if you would have been hurt? You should let the pros handle their jobs and just back off. You are not even a pro hero yet, so you should not meddle in heroes' business." Snipe lectured, ignoring others looked to stop. The students noticed the pros' look and were curious why they were asking Snipe to be silent. Izuku, who had his head down, looked up. His features yet again changed as his eyes turned to white slits and fangs grew. He ran a hand through his hair, pushing it back as he said in a harsh tone, "I don't care. I was sure that I would have killed the Nomu or it would be wounded dangerously. I don't leave anyone loosely when they hurt someone precious to me, whoever they are." He then bowed at Nezu and said, "Sir, I am going home. I have been through too much today. Please excuse me for a day." Nezu nodded and said, "You are excused, Aizawa." Mina tried to say but was cut off when Izuku said, "Leave me alone." He then sighed. It came out harsher than he wanted it. "I'm sorry, look Mina, just leave me be for today. I am not in a good mood. Some sleep would do me nice." He apologized. Izuku, without even looking back, just walked away. He reached his house, took clothes out of his cupboard. He took a cold shower to clear his head, as he then wore his scarf, blue shorts and a black full-sleeve turtleneck shirt. He sat down on the couch and after a minute the bell rang. He clicked his tongue in annoyance as he opened the door to see Momo standing. He clenched his fist. He could not send her back now. She had come from a long way. He looked in Momo's eyes and saw the concern, pain and sewed as he led her inside. He then sat beside her on the couch as he asked, "Well, what can I do for you, Momo?" "Izuku, thank you for saving me," she said. He just gave her a tired smile and said it was nothing. They sat in silence for a while when Momo said, "Izuku, it's okay to cry, you know. Like you are there for me, I will be there for you." She looked at him to see his tears falling as he hugged Momo tightly, wrapping his arms around her and putting his face in her neck. He told her, I would have lost my parents again. Momo, he was close to dying. Dad could have. Momo's breath stopped. What did he mean, lost parents again? Is Aizawa not his real father? What do you mean, Izuku? Momo asked carefully. He danced for a second, then relaxed again, showing he trusted her, which fulfilled her with warmness. My real parents were killed, Momo. They were killed when I was 4 years old, right in front of my eyes, brutally tortured and killed, Izuku answered. She hugged him tightly and said in a comforting voice, "Shut, it's okay, Izuku. I am here for you." Shut. After a while Izuku fell asleep. She gently laid him on the couch and created a blanket and put it over him. She then bent down and kissed his cheek, whispering, "Thank you for trusting me, Izuku." She then went out of the apartment, closing the door as she went to her own house. The next day, A is closed and all around the news was spread that the a hero course class 1A was attacked by villains, and the one to defeat the villains' trump card was Izuku Aizawa, a child from the hero course who, seeing his dad injured, defeated the villain in his rage. The main ringleader had fled and his whereabouts were still unknown. The members were holding a meeting where Detective Tsukachi mentioned, even after capturing and interrogating the 72 captured villains, we still don't know the League of Villains' whereabouts. Just that the leader was Shigaraki Tamura and they reached USJ by the help of 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘, who had a teleporting quirk. Yes, though as Aizachan stated, the leader Shigaraki was kind of stupid. childlike and reckless. His plans had glaring flaws and was a plan which no sane villain would follow and he without. Even asking revealed his objective to kill All Might by the Nomu, apparently that is the monster name, and he also revealed he was created and given 2 quirks, shock absorption and hyper regeneration. Nezu added. Yes, we noticed that too, but why would he follow such a useless plan? All Might asked, I have a theory. Just like we are teaching the Yuya students to become heroes, Shigaraki Tamura is being groomed as a villain by someone in the shadows, Nezu said. Izuku even said that he smelled Shigaraki's scent when the reporters had swarmed you. Meaning they were behind the barrier break and stole the scheduled. Detective Tsukachi said, we must stay careful, but my main concern is young Izuku. You saw how he lost it after Aizawa was brutally beaten, All Might said. Everyone tensed as they had a flashback of Izuku's rage towards the Nomu. Yes, we must give him extra training after the upcoming festival. You saw how much his flames changed. Though the appearance change was new, Nezu concluded yes, and due to the extra attention he would receive we must keep an eye on him to keep him safe, Midnight added as the meeting continued for a while. Izuku was at home when the door opened and Aizawa entered bandaged up. Izuku stood up and hugged Aizawa. Dad? Aizawa winced but hugged back as he said, hey, you'll kill me with your hug alone, but anyways, I am home, son, you're okay, Izuku said as though he was comforting himself more than Aizawa, which obviously crushed Aizawa's heart as Izuku had to suffer so much in his life. Yeah, I am okay, son, I am okay, she said. The next day, Izuku had skipped classes which worried the other students as they had seen him go wild at the USJ, but Momo had calmed them down and said, everyone calm down, Izuku is fine. He just wants to rest for some time and without disturbances. She put extra emphasis on the last words so no one would visit him as she knew he wouldn't like that. They had assumed that Mr. Aizawa would also not come but they were proven wrong when he entered the class heavily bandaged with one arm under a sling. What? Half the class screamed, Mr. Aizawa, you're okay? Someone asked, is Izuku okay? Momo asked, yes, he is fine, just wasn't in the mood to come to school. There were some complications with his quirk. Aizawa told them, but Mr. Aizawa, what was that back at ye? Mineta asked. He was actually scared more of Izuku than the villains. Aizawa sighed. He knew this question would come. He answered, Izuku is a special child, one who puts family and precious people close to his heart so when they are in danger his powers increase tenfolds, but when you make him angry, like a raging fire his power multiplies the more he gets angry. Scary? Kaminari said, wait. Then if we are in a pinch against a villain and we make him super angry would his power increase? Siro asked. Yes, anyways I wanted to tell you to prepare for the sports festival coming up, Aizawa said. A sports festival? Everyone asked. I keep forgetting this is an actual school, Mina shouted. Wait. Hold up, that sounds like something villains would infiltrate, will it be okay? Mineta yelled, you shouldn't worry about that, if you is going ahead with the festival means they are confident in their security, but what you all should be worried about is that how big of an opportunity it would be for you. The sports festival is one of the biggest event in Japan and what replaces Olympic in Japan is the U. A sports festival, Aizawa explained. The country's top hero will watch us and they will be scouting for us, Momo stated. Remember, entering a famous hero squad will give you a higher status and more experience. Time is limited. This is a chance you get only once a year and a total of 3 times, and if you aim to be a hero you can't overlook this event. Aizawa lectured at lunch break. Everyone was talking about the sports festival. Now I feel like the tension is sky-high, Kirishima exclaimed. Whoa, everyone's so pumped up, Kaminari said. You've enrolled in you. To become a hero, so getting fired up is only natural, man. Ida added. Weirdo, Azui said, watching Ida. Let's crush it, Uraraka said as everyone looked at her in shock. What's up with her? Mina asked as Momo shrugged. Meanwhile, Izuku was wearing Aizawa's goggles and using his scarf to hide his mouth. He sat in Recovery Girl's clinic. Now, Aizu-chan, show me, what happened? Recovery Girl said. Izuku nodded as he hesitantly took off his goggles and lowered the scarf. Just as he opened his eyes, Recovery Girl gasped. After using crimson flames, Izuku had felt intense pain in his eyes and experienced itching in his teeth. His fangs had grown and his eyes had a ring of white at the corner, and the white slit now remained in his eyes. The emerald color of his eyes had turned sharp. My God, 𝐒𝐮𝐦𝐦𝐚𝐫𝐲? Recovery Girl asked. When I used the crimson flames against that Nomu, afterwards at night when I slept my temperature rose and my body hurt as well as my eyes and my teeth were itching, Izuku explained. I see, I will test it out, Recovery Girl said as she took a little BLD and examined him. After some tests, she saw Aizawa arrive and then she said, Izuchan, did you push your body more than it can handle? He stiffened as Recovery Girl shook her head and said, you remember that, right? He nodded, still tense as he put a hand on his heart, remembering the incident. She then said, your body can't handle too much flame right now and you can't use that mode right now as it hurts you, but on the bright side your quirk is an evolving quirk and it has adapted your body to further increase your power. Your skin has turned harder than before, the muscle mass has increased and your eyesight has increased and teeth have grown. There are also some changes in his organs and nothing more worth mentioning. He nodded as he looked at Aizawa, who said, will there be any problems? Apart from his eyes and teeth remaining same, there will be no problem, she said as she told Izuku that he is dismissed. Don't worry, I still think your eyes look appealing, Aizawa said. Thanks, Dad, Izuku answered. Now Aizawa, she said as she started to check him. Izuku, still wearing his scarf and his dad's goggles, was walking around when he saw it was lunch break and lost in thought. He bumped into Momo. Momo was about to fall when Izuku caught her by the waist and said, are you all right? Izuku? She asked as he stood her up and said, yes, it is me. She guided him to the table and said, hey, everyone, Izuku is here. Everyone turned towards Izuku as Kirishima grinned as put Izuku in a headlock and said, hey, buddy, how are ya? Fine, he answered as he sat down with everyone and they talked until Momo said, Izuku? He responded as she asked in a curious tone, why are you wearing goggles and hiding your face? Everyone was interested in it as they looked at him and he said, well, as you know, there were some complications with my quirk, so some changes happened and that's why I did not come to class today. Are you okay? Mina asked, is it permanent? Ijiro asked in a soft voice which made everyone silenced. Yes, he answered. Can you show us? 𝗧𝗟𝗘 asked. Izuku quietly pulled his scarf down and took his goggles off. Seeing his grown fong, everyone's eye widened, but when he opened his eyes, everyone gasped. Your eyes, 𝗧𝗓 said. Yes, they changed. My body adapted to my quirk, even my skin changed and some of the organs inside. These are the consequences of pushing my body above limit of what it could handle, Izuku spoke softly. But your eyes look appealing, Mina said. I know Dad said the same thing, but not everyone thinks like that. I am sure Todoroki understands this, he said, glancing towards the other bench as Todoroki gave a small nod, showing he was listening to the conversation. Izuku, you can sit in class now. The teachers has been informed of this change, Aizawa said as he petted Izuku's head. Izuku smiled as he said, thanks, Dad. It's nothing, he said as he kept rubbing Izuku's head. Can we go there, Dad? Izuku asked, still smiling as his father rubbed his head. Why do you want to go there? And are you taking about D1 or DW? Aizawa asked. DW, I want to train there, T answered. Sure, you can stay there for a month and then you can come back, Aizawa said. Thanks, Dad, Izuku said as Aizawa aged and said, come on, let's go. Okay, Izuku replied as he got up and walked with Aizawa. Whoa, who knew Mr. Aizawa could be like that? Mineta asked. I know, right? It completely destroyed my opinion of him as a lazy parent and uncaring parent, Hagakure said. I thought something similar too, Azui said. The bell rang as everyone went to class. After class, everyone saw that there were many students blocking their way out of class. Uraraka stood with Ida and Bakugo looking at the gate when Izuku got up, slinging his bag over his shoulder. He opened the door as everyone swarmed near them. They're crowding the exit. What? Mineta shouted, they're scoping out the competition, moron. They want to see who the gang that survived the villain attack is, Bakugo said. Just then some student with pale purple hair and the same eyes came forward along with another who resembled Kirishima a bit but was like made of steel. They all shouted as Izuku just pushed forward, ignoring everyone as he was walking. The steel one said, hey, you, what are ignoring us for? Do you think you're above us? We will defeat you all, the purple-haired one also said. Seems like I was disillusioned. There are only arrogant people in the heroic department, but we the ones who failed in heroic would replace you in hero course if we do well in sports festival, so this is a declaration of war. Izuku stopped as he took off his headphone and cleaned his ears, and wearing it again he said in a lazy tone while looking at both the boys, you say something. Both boys' eyes twitched while everyone else sweat dropped. He then continued walking as they shouted at him. In order to show their best in the competition, everyone trained hard, some together while some did solo training. A month had passed and now only 2 days remained for the festival. Momo, Kirishima and Mina decided to visit Izuku. As they knocked, the door was opened by Aizawa, who asked, "Hello, what can I do for you? Is Izuku here?" Momo asked as Aizawa shook his head and said, "No, he is at DW training. He hasn't come home for a month and will arrive the day after tomorrow." "What? But Momo here came so far to meet him." Mina said she was also disappointed that she couldn't meet Izuku. They had planned to do some fun. Aizawa sighed and said, "I can give you the address to the Dragon Warehouse, where Izuku trains. You can get inside by swiping this card, and I want you to give this card to Izuku after you get in." He gave them the card and explained them the route. "You go to Dagoba Municipal Beach, then take the road and go right. You will find an abandoned district. Go straight and you will see warehouse, over which DW will be written. Go there." They took the train and reached the beach, and after following Aizawa's given route they reached the warehouse and their jaw dropped. "Holy SHT! This is huge," Mina exclaimed, "so manly." Ijiro said slowly, "This is like combining 10 warehouses together." Momo said the warehouse was very big and had a single main gate about 10 meters ahead of it and then a single card unlock gate. They went and showed the card to the guards and Momo said, "We are here to meet Izuku. His father gave us this card." "You must be Yaoyorozu-san, Ensar Izuku's girlfriend," one guard said as the other also nodded smiling. She flushed as she heard that, a large blush covering her face as Mina and Kirishima jaw dropped, and she stuttering said, "No, I am not his girlfriend." "You're not, but the way Ensar Izuku told us about you was like you were his girlfriend," one guard said. "What did he say?" Mina asked excited. "You must be Ishido-san. He also told us put you," and then the final one would be Kirishima-san. The second guard said, "What did he say, man?" Ijiro said, "Well, he said that if a black-haired beauty came then let her in." The first guard said. Momo blushed and suddenly found her high heels more interesting than her friends' grinning faces. "What did he say about us?" Mina asked. "He said, and there will also be 2 idiots with her. One who would be an overly excited Pinky while the other a grinning manly shouter." The other guard answered them. Momo giggled as she saw the look on her friend's face. "Why, that Izuku, I'll get him for this," Mina said pouting. "Yeah, not manly." Kirishima said they were allowed inside, and just as they opened the gate of the warehouse they heard a voice counting 995996997. They went inside and saw Izuku doing push-ups with about 3 huge metal discs on his back. As he counted 1,000 and turning around he picked up the discs and threw them to the side, causing a large shockwave and some cracks on the floor. They saw the whole warehouse was full of workout machines and it was like a gym and training area. Momo's mouth fell open along with Mina and Kirishima, and Izuku, seeing them, said smiling, "Hey, I just finished training. How are you all?" "We are fine," Momo said, regaining her composure as she flashed him a smile. She was very glad to see him after a month and could already see he had gained some more muscle judging by the tight t-shirt he was wearing. "What the hell was that? How could you carry so much weight?" Kirishima said. "What? I told you my quirk allows me to have slightly increased strength," Izuku said. Nonchalantly, that was slight. The trio thought, sweat dropping. "Anyways," Mina said, a sickly sweet smile spreading across her face as she continued, "What was with the description of us to the guards?" "Oh, that. It was correct, wasn't it?" Izuku said, grinning. Kirishima and Mina's eye twitched as they grabbed Izuku and began to beat him as they shouted, "Like hell it was." After some moments, Izuku gained his composure as he stood up and, dusting his clothes, he took back the card that was given to Mina and the others. "Izu-chan, what was with the description of Yamamo here?" Mina said as she pointed at Momo, who blushed as she averted her gaze from Izuku, however also curious of the answer. "Well, she is appealing, isn't she? But I think she will get more points in the cute department," Izuku said, smiling. Momo turned red as she could not turn back while both Ijiro and Mina were grinning mischievously. "Oh, and how is she more in cute department?" Mina asked. "Yet tell us." Kirishima added. Izuku shrugged as he walked towards Momo and cupped her face as he leaned in towards her lips. Mina and Kirishima gasped at this, but Izuku leaned too close until their lips were an inch apart. Momo closed her eyes as she trembled a little and held a nervous expression. Izuku then held back as Momo slowly opened her eyes, seeing a grinning Izuku. She pouted and blushing brightly she said, "Izuku-kun, why do you always tease me?" Seats told you, Izuku said as Mina and Kirishima gaped seeing a blushing and pouting Momo. Holy 𝗧𝗟𝗧𝗟𝗧 Kirishima said as a bit of pink spread across his cheeks. Wow, never thought I would see Yamamo like this. Only you Aizu-chan can do something like this, Mina said. You have seen nothing of what I can do to Momo here, Izuku boasted as he looked at Momo, who turned towards the machines present, pretending to check them. She then turned towards Kirishima, who still had pink on his cheek. She pouted as she hit him and said, "What are you blushing for?" Kirishima said, "They should get together," Izuku whispered to Momo as she nodded and thought, "So should we?" "Hey Momo, are you free tomorrow?" Izuku asked. Momo's heart beat faster as she said, "Yes." "Great. Come in casual dress tomorrow at 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗟𝗘 at 4, we will have fun," Izuku said. "Will Ijiro and Mina be there too?" Momo asked, though she hoped they wouldn't know. "It will be the two of us," Izuku answered. "Like a D-date?" Momo asked. "Only if you want it to be," Izuku answered her. Then okay, she said as Izuku smiled. They all had fun as they told each other what they did during the month to train. The next day, Izuku went home as he greeted his dad, took a shower and got ready for his date. He took out a black hoodie and his blue which he wore and his regular scarf, headphones and red shoes. He saw the time that was 2:30 and walked out of the house. He walked to 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗟𝗘 as he stood there and saw it was 3:57. After 5 minutes, he heard Izuku. He turned around to see Momo, wearing a high-neck sweater shirt and a green skirt with brown boots. "Ah Momo, you're looking very cute today," Izuku said. "Thanks," she said as she looked him up and said, "You're looking handsome as well." My, complimenting me." Izuku grinned as she blushed and said, "Mao, Izuku, why me?" He wrapped his arms around her as he leaned in her ear as he said, "It's 'cause you are the most dear to me." She turned scarlet as she whispered, "Why are you teasing me?" "Who said I was teasing you?" He grinned. She smiled as he held her hand and said, "Come on. Let's go." They both walked as Momo asked, "Where are we going, Izuku?" "Surprise," he said. He then led her towards a theme park and said, "Here we are." She gasped as he said, "Didn't you say that you could not go to a theme park as you had to work hard to get into you? And before that you had no time as you were a recommended student and always were the class president and had worked." She had tears in her eyes as she sniffed and hugged Izuku tightly, and he laughed as she said, "You remembered." He smiled as she then broke the hug as he wiped her tears and said, "Shall we?" She nodded as they both went inside and Izuku took her to many rides. They both had much fun and Izuku then took her to the arcade. He taught her how to play shooting games. He even taught her how to throw basketball. They both also danced on many songs. It was 7 now as Izuku and Momo were walking side by side as Momo was eating ice cream and Izuku was walking beside her as she said, "Thank you for this wonderful day, Izuku." "Nah, I had fun too." He smiled at her as she saw a photo booth and said, "Come on, Izuku, let's go to the photo booth." "Do you really want to?" Izuku asked, not sure that they should go. "Come on, I really want to. I have seen others going there and I too want to go." She made her puppy eye face and he groaned and said, "Okay." They went inside and Izuku paid for 10 shots as the first pose came was stand side by side and smile. The second was to show peace signs. The third was the girl stand in front of the boy and her hand on his face with her head on his shoulder while he leans down on her and hugs her waist. They both blushed at this. The fourth was of carrying the girl bridal style, which was carried out while they both were embarrassed. The fifth was that the couple hug each other closely and touch their forehead. These types of embarrassing pictures continued as they received the pictures and got out blushing up a storm, as Izuku said, "I told you, Momo, but I saw many people coming out smiling." Momo said confused, "Momo, they are couples," he explained as she realized and said, "Oh." They then walked to the station as Izuku then laid in Momo's lap. He then stood outside her house with her as he dropped her to her home and said, "Well, we are here." "Thank you, Izuku. Today was wonderful. I had fun," she said. As she hugged him and he hugged back after a moment, they let go as she walked inside her home and he walked away to his house. Izuku, smiling, went to his house. As he went to his room and taking out his jacket and mask, he turned on his laptop and closed every light except for a small bulb which only showed him. Then he turned on live feed and set up his mic. Clearing his throat, he said, "Hello everyone. This is your one and only 𝗒𝗧𝗧𝗟𝗘 and today's song is Dusk Till Dawn. Let's start." Just then the music started as Izuku began, "Not trying to be indie, not trying to be cool, just trying to be in this. Tell me how you choose. Can you feel why you're in this? Can you feel it through all of the windows inside this room? 'Cause I want to touch you, baby, and I want to feel you. Too, I want to see the sunrise and your sins, just me and you, light it up. On the run, let's connect. tonight make it up, fall in love. Try but you'll never be alone, I'll be with you from dusk till dawn, I'll be with you. From dusk till dawn, baby, I'm right here, I'll hold you when things go wrong, I'll be with you from dusk till dawn, I'll be with you from dusk till dawn, baby. I'm right here, I'll be with you from dusk till dawn, baby. I'm right here, we were shut like a jacket, so to your zip we will roll down the rapids to find a wave that fits. Can you feel where the wind is? Can you feel it through all of the windows inside this room? 'Cause I wanna touch you, baby, I wanna feel you. Too, I wanna see the sunrise and your sins, just me and you, light it up. On the run, let's connect tonight, make it up, fall in love. Try but you'll never be alone, I'll be with you from dusk till dawn, I'll be with you from dusk till dawn. Baby, I'm right here, I'll hold you when things go wrong, I'll be with you from dusk till dawn, I'll be with you from dusk till dawn, baby. I'm right here, go, give love to your body, it's only you that can stop it, go. Give love to your body, it's only you that can stop it, go. Give love to your body, it's only you that can stop it, go. Give love to your body, go. Give love to your body, but you'll never be alone, I'll be with you from dusk till dawn, I'll be with you from dusk till dawn, baby. I'm right here. I'll hold you when things go wrong, I'll be with you from dusk till dawn, I'll be with you from dusk till dawn, baby. I'm right here, I'll be with you from dusk till dawn, baby. I'm right here. Well, that's it, guys, be ready for another song after the U. A sports festival, 𝗒𝗧𝗟𝗘 out. He then turned off the camera and laptop as he took off his 𝗒𝗧𝗟𝗘 getup and got into a simple black shorts and white shirt as he jumped on the bed to sleep. Gather round, mass media. This year all your favorite high school kids will let their youth run free like bucking bronco. Once again the UE Sports Festival has begun. Everyone, are you ready? President Mike announced as he was a commentator along with Aizawa. The security check taking forever, some reporters complained as another said, must be because of the villain attack. They are taking extreme caution now, yes, but all eyes today will be on the surviving class. That is one. Another said class 1A was sitting in the waiting room. Izuku was checking out his custom-made uniform. It was built for him as his flames would burn his regular clothing. He looked here and there and saw everyone sitting and chatting. Just then Todoroki's voice came, Aizawa. Izuku looked at him and asked, what? Everyone got quiet and looked at them both as Todoroki continued, on an objective basis, I think you are stronger than me, you have managed to get the pros' attention, but I am going to beat you, oh, a declaration of war from the second best in class, Kaminari said excited. Hey, no need to fight, Kirishima began as he was cut off by Todoroki. I am not here to play nice and make friends, but whatever, sure, come at me with your best. It's not just for you but for everyone, I know they want a shot at me. So do your best, but beware, I'm going to be at my best too, Izuku said as he began walking forward and said, good luck to you all, you'll need it. Overconfidence leads to disaster. Todoroki said, it was not overconfidence, Kirishima said with a serious face as everyone turned to him. It was a fact. You have seen nothing of what Izuku can do, and if he decides to play serious, just wish it isn't you facing him. Trust me, I am telling from experience, Kirishima warned them. They all nodded and went forward. There they are, folks, the freshman stage. Present Mike shouted. Izuku along with the other entered the stage to see mass amount of crowd cheering for them as Present Mike shouted, there are the freshmen who escaped and survived a mass villain attack, the one you miscreants came to see from the Department of Heroics, Class 1A. Whoa, so many people, 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘 said, man, I am getting nervous seeing all those. Kirishima said, you're just getting stage fright. You wuss, Bakugo said, drawing out your best with so many eyes gazing at you from all direction is also part of you. A's hero training scheme, Ida said, and following them is Class B, now C, D, and E from general departments and F, G, and H of the support course. Present Mike announced, man, they're treating us like we are their foils or something, a random boy said. Now fair play, came Midnight's voice as everyone turned to her and blushed, but none more than Mineta, who was practically drooling, and everyone began to move away from him. Many were talking about the 18+ heroine as she said, Bakugo Katsuki of 1A. Our representative is Katsuki, 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘 said, well, he placed first in the entrance exams, remember? Siro said, and Izuku Aizawa of 1A, she announced, making everyone confused. Along with Izuku himself, there were never two representatives. Suddenly he had the feeling that he is about to be embarrassed. Izuku walked to the stage alongside Bakugo, ignoring the murmurs of why he was called. He stood on the stage when Midnight came forward to him and hugged him tightly, causing everyone to gasp as she said, Aizu-chan, it's been so long since I last saw you, come on. Don't embarrass me, Izuku said as she pouted at him, and still hugging him she said, Don't you want your favorite aunt to hug you? It's not that, you have a sports festival to take care of, right? He asked, hoping she did let him go with some face. She replied, oh hush, it will be taken care of. Oh, have your eyes changed? They look appealing. She then saw 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 looking as she said, what are you looking at? Give the speech. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 clicked his tongue as he said, listen here, I am gonna place first. I knew he was gonna say that, 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏 said smiling. Why do you insist on lowering our good grace? Ida shouted as shouts against 1A were made because of 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. Alright. With that we move on our first stage, that is the obstacle race, Midnight announced, still holding Izuku. This race is a 4 kilometers course around the ring between all the classes, so you are free to do whatever you want as long as you stay within the course, she said as she then kissed Izuku's cheek and petting his head she said, good luck, Aizawa-chan. He blushed as he nodded and went to the ground as he received glares from every male being near Midnight as Mayonetta said, you 𝗬𝗧𝗟𝗘. Why do you get special treatment? Hey, she's my aunt, what can I do about that? Izuku said as he walked forward. All right, everyone get ready, on your marks get set, Midnight said as the lights blinked and Izuku thought, watch me dad, starts? She shouted as everyone started to run. Izuku saw the space was very tight so he lit himself on fire to free a path and as he expected several people got away from him afraid to get burned as he cleared and got out. He looked and saw Todoroki had also gotten out and left behind a trail of ice and trapping some students behind who were cursing him. Izuku smirked when he heard a familiar voice, you'll have to try harder than Tsuchi Todoroki, Kirishima said, and another voice, we won't let you get away, they easy to fave, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 shouted as Izuku looked back to see all of his classmates avoiding Todoroki's ice and coming towards him. Mayonetta jumped from the crowd towards Todoroki who had went ahead of Izuku as Izuku was in a light jog and shouted to Todoroki, you will be my ticket to win the race. Now face my ultimate move grape dashed. He was cut off as a metallic fist smashed him and threw him to the side. Everyone stopped to see a dozen 0-pointers standing in front of them. Everyone was stunned and some were asking where they get all the funds to do this. Izuku jogged ahead as he said, well, look what we have here. He turned around and said, I'll do you all a favor and get rid of these things. Izuku grinned as he smashed his fist together and lighting himself on fire he shouted, now I am all fired up. He pulled in a crazy amount of air and yelled, fire dragon's roar, as he fired the biggest roar he ever has burning away all the robots as Izuku ran off grinning as multiple parts of the broken robot blocked the other's way. He laughed as he ran but not at his best speed. He knew this was the first stage so why waste your stamina and what would happen if they weren't even given a break? Whoa! Class 1 is... Izuku has just burned his way through the 0-pointers and blocking everyone's way, Present Mike shouted to minute. Izuku Kirishima said as he hardened himself and ran inside the fire and got out from the other way, his sleeves and collar burned off. Beside him Tetsu was the same and they both bickered. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 then used his explosion and jumped above the fire as 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 did the same but Tokoyami couldn't do the same with his dark shadow so he grabbed onto 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘 and successfully passed the fire. Todoroki had coated himself with ice and ran from inside the fire. Everyone had passed the first stage and as they went forward they saw a field with ropes attached, so they had to climb the ropes to pass the field. Now we have the second stage, that is if you fall you're out and if you don't like the idea then crawl. This is the second stage called the false. Present Mike shouted to the crowd. Everyone saw Izuku just jumping around using his flames as a momentum to keep going with Todoroki and 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 on his heels. The crowd was wild and discussing as several voices came, holy 𝗧𝗟𝗘. The kid on first place is leagues above the others. His quirk is powerful as well. The second and third also have good quirks. The second one is Endeavor's son. Whoa, really guess he must be like his father then the second best. Izuku looked back and saw Momo also going on the tight ropes. He grinned as he saw her but just then her balance gave out. He clicked his tongue as he turned around letting Todoroki and 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 take the lead. Everyone who looked at Momo stopped as she fell. Everyone from 1A shouted, Yamamo. Momo was falling but suddenly she was swept away when an orange blur came and took her away. They all saw a flame taking Momo away as Kirishima and Mina grinned knowing who it was. Across the field with blazing speed Izuku carried Momo flying as he stopped near the third stage and said, seriously Momo, you just had my heart stopped. Momo opened her eyes to see Izuku carrying here and blushing she said, sorry. He smiled as he said, well, no harm done. Now go, he put her down as he used his flames to flew past the minefield, which was the third stage, and he saw that 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 and Todoroki were fighting to take the lead. He smirked as he increased his flames and passed them, both at an amazing speed. They both ceased their fighting, seeing Izuku take the lead again. They ran behind him, Todoroki using a trail of ice to increase his speed, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 using explosions to fly, and Izuku grinning increased the flame output and reached the arena first. The man to return to the stadium in triumph is none other Izuku Aizawa, named to know present. Mike shouted as Aizawa grinned and thought, "Good job, son. Izuku, you were so amazing," Momo said, smiling as Izuku smiled too, and Mina came in first place as Kirishima and HD just fist bumped. So, it's over now, and the top 42 are those who qualified and the rest have failed, but better luck next time. Midnight announced taking the stage. Now the second stage, that is post-preliminaries 𝗔𝗚𝗏𝗧𝗟𝗘, she announced as everyone repeated what she said. You are all free to form a 2 to 4 man team and fight. It basically the same as other human cavalry, where you have to take the other team's headband and guard your own. Everyone will receive their own headbands and will have points of their own, ranging from the 42nd to have 5, 41st to have 10, and so on, with the exception of the first position, who would have 10 million points, she explained as everyone turned towards Izuku, who smirked, and jumping out of the crowd he smirked as he showed his fingers where it was written "Come on." With fire. Whoa. Izuku has just taunted everyone to try to take his headband. Is it arrogance or pure confidence in his skills? Present Mike announced, "All right, you all have about 15 minutes to form teams, now go," Midnight announced. Izuku sighed as he saw no one approaching him. He then got up as he went towards Momo as he saw Todoroki approach her too. He stood beside her just as Todoroki asked, "Yaozu, would you join my team?" "I am sorry, Todoroki, but I am joining Izuku's team," she replied as he looked confused and asked, "Why?" "There will be several coming after him, making it difficult to survive." She just smiled as she said, "If we lose we are out, but still I would join his team." "But because he saved you?" Todoroki asked. "No, because I like to be with him," she said. Suddenly she realized what she said as she turned red and said, I mean. Izuku chuckled as he put a hand on her head and said, "Nah, don't worry, besides, I like to be with you too." She, hearing this, put her hands on her face. "Oh, dude, got some space?" Kirishima's voice came as he grinned at Izuku along with Mina. Izuku grinned back as he said, "Yep, free space for 2. Looks like we made the perfect team. No one has been together for longer than us, so we definitely will win." Kirishima grinned and said, "Totally, dude. Yep, we rocked," Mina exclaimed, nodding along with Momo. "So, what's the plan?" Momo asked. Izuku grinned and said, "You Momo are going to play the main role and be in charge of the headbands, while we 3 will guard you, but before that you have to create some skates for us, as I will be using my flames as a boost, as I will be in front and Ige and Mina in back. And also create some guard for you all for my flames, the rest we will see, and create some thinner as well. We gotta burn our way through." Izuku then stopped as everyone nodded with his plan. He then saw Todoroki's team and smirked. "Well, now we have more use for Ige and Mina too. Mina, when I say go Mina, you have to throw acid in the ground, and Ige, when I say harden up, you just have to lift your leg and harden it. I will burn those machines along with the tapes." This just got interesting. "All right. The cavalry round starts now," Midnight announced as the battle started. Izuku knew they all would come for him, and he smirked when he smelled Shoji coming towards him with Mineta and Azui hidden in his tentacles. He then said, "Get ready to dodge, everyone now," he said as they all jumped away from Mineta's incoming ball and Azui's tongue. "Go Mina." Izuku gave the signal as Mina sprayed her acid on the ground as it made a foot-sized hole, and Shoji, stucking in it, fell down, throwing Mineta and Azui tot. He ground as Izuku took Mineta's headband along with Azui's. He then dodged an incoming fist as he blew small amount of fire, burning the hand, and saw it was 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, who yelled out, "If." He then said, "Momo, thinner, throw it in a circle, not all of, only half." Momo nodded as she said, "Okay." She threw the thinner like Izuku asked as Izuku spit out a small fireball which burned around 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 and his team as they stopped. Izuku knew they would now use Uraraka zero gravity, so he said, "Momo, everyone brace yourself." They all held each other tightly, and Izuku too, as he put his hand behind and pushed flames out as they sailed across the arena at high speed, Izuku controlling them and led them all to the other side of the arena. They had just stopped as he saw Dark Shadow approaching, and he opened his palm towards him, and lighting his fist he sent out a flaming punch throwing Dark Shadow away. Just then he saw Todoroki freeze the area as his leg got stuck and he burned the ice off and Todoroki appeared in front of him. He gritted his teeth as he jumped out along with his team to dodge another ice wall coming towards them. He then heard Todoroki say, "Right where I wanted them, Kaminari." Izuku thought as Kaminaro charged himself, and Izuku said, "Momo, cover everyone with the insulation." Right when Momo created the insulation sheet which was held by her, Kirishima and Mina, the lightning came and Izuku, thinking for his friends, interrupted it, causing him to get shocked. "Eat it now!" shouted Todoroki as Ida said, "Recipro burst," and they all came at an amazing speed, ripping one headband of Momo, who was distracted when Izuku was heard. As they were about to land, Izuku shouted, "Ige, harden up!" Kirishima hardened his leg as he put it out, which got hit to Siro, who broke the cavalry, and they were falling when Izuku shouted, "Go Mina!" Mina threw large amount of acid in the ground as it melted, leaving a crater where Todoroki and his team fell as Izuku turned them all around and was about to take the headband back when Present Mix's voice came, "And it's over. And here are the winners, him and it?" Mina shouted as Kirishima said, "We were so close. I am so sorry everyone. I was distracted and we lost the headband and now we are out," Momo said, close to tears as they all broke the cavalry. Izuku walked forward as he petted Momo's head and said, "You were just worried about me, so it's okay." "No, it isn't. I should have been faster. Now we lost," Momo said, a single tear falling. Izuku shook his head as he wiped the tear, and still petting her head he said, "Who said we are out? Look at the second place." They all looked at the second place and saw Team Izuku written there. As they turned towards him and grinning, he showed them Todoroki's headband and said, "Todoroki was in tension when taking the 10 million point headband and I noticed it. Even though I was shocked by the lightning, I managed to take Todoroki's headband. And all thanks to you, Momo. If he hadn't seen you distracted, I wouldn't have gotten the headband easily." Momo jumped on Izuku as she hugged him and said, "We pass," as Kirishima and Mina jumped on him too as Izuku fell to the ground. Todoroki, who noticed, gritted his teeth as he had let Izuku take his headband and walked away. Now the first 4 teams will pass, and they are in the first place Team Todoroki, the second place Team Izuku, the third is Team Bakugo, and the last place goes to Team Tet. Wait, what? Team 𝗓𝗧𝗏. They passed anyways. The last place Team 𝗓𝗧𝗏. They all will proceed. Now take an hour lunch break, folks, and then we will be right back, announced Present Mike. They all cleared the arena for a short break. As Izuku went along with Todoroki, who called him, they went behind the arena while the rest of the class talked with each other as Momo asked, Guys, where did Izuku go?" "Oh, missing your boyfriend already?" Mina asked as Momo blushed and said, "No, I am not missing him. I am just asking." Then she fully realized what Mina said and said, "Hey, he's also not my boyfriend." Yet she added in thought. Mina grinned and said, "Whatever helps you sleep at night." "What do you mean by that, Mina?" she asked as she ran behind Mina, who was laughing. "You wanted to tell me something. What is it?" Izuku asked, standing in front of Todoroki. "You did something which led me to break my own pledge," Todoroki stated. "So?" Izuku asked. "You know my father, right? The number 2 hero in 𝗧𝗏?" Todoroki asked. "Yeah, I know," Izuku said. "You are connected to nearly all heroes in 𝗏𝗏 and even All Might. That gives me more of a reason to defeat you, and with you having a fire quirk which looks better than my dad's, he will force me to defeat you to show his is better," Todoroki explained. "I see," Izuku said. "My old man will do anything to advance his positions. He did whatever he could to make a name for himself, but he could never surpass All Might. So he devised a plan. You know, Quirk marriages, and using money he bought her and used her until he created me the perfect being in his eyes to surpass All Might. In my memories my mom is always crying, and she told me that my left side is ugly and dumped boiling water on it. So F him, I will never be that piece of SHT's tool. I am going to be number 1 without using his quirk. As for why I am defeating you is more of a personal triumph," Todoroki told Izuku, who looked shocked. Bakugo, who was hiding and listened, sweated at learning these things. Todoroki started walking and said, "I am sorry I took your time." Izuku said, "My parents were killed when I was only 4 years old." As Todoroki stopped, pale, he turned back, his eyes wide. Izuku then continued, "Yes, Eraserhead is not my real father. He adopted me after saving me from the apartment where I was left to die and get burned alive along with the corpses of my parents who were brutally murdered in front of me. Todoroki was just shocked as Izuku said, "This is also the reason I am connected to every hero in you. And All Might, as the one who did this to my biological parents, was All Might's arch nemesis. He stood for everything opposite of what All Might stands for. I was later adopted by Dad because I grew on him, and it is because of him I am here now, and so I do everything to make him proud. You should be happy, Todoroki, at least your parents are alive." "Thanks," Todoroki said as Izuku looked at him, and he continued, "for telling me all this. It's okay, you trusted me with your past and I did with mine. Let's not tell anyone each other's secrets." "Sure," Todoroki said as he walked away, and Izuku left too, but not before saying, "Bakugo, you better not tell anyone what you heard or else I'll kill you." Bakugo, who heard this, stiffened. Izuku was walking when he saw Momo in a cheer outfit happily going out. He pulled her by the wrist to his chest as she blushed and said, "What do you think you are doing? I could ask the same to you. What's with the outfit?" Izuku asked, paying zero attention that they were so close to each other. "What, I am going for the cheerleader battle that Mr. Aizawa asked us to do." Momo replied, "My dear Momo, who told you this?" Izuku asked, sighing. "Mineta and Kaminari," she said as Izuku, shaking his head, said, "There is no such thing as a cheerleader battle. They lied to you. How could you fall for it, Momo? Those two are perverts." She deflated as she said, "They tricked us." He sighed as he dragged her with him and, sending her back in her room, told her to change. After she changed, he led her outside, where she saw that the other girls were wearing cheerleader outfits and glaring at Mineta and Kaminari, who were laughing. Jiraiya then looked at Momo and asked, "What? Yamamoto? You knew they tricked us?" As all the girls turned towards her, she shook her as she said, "No, I didn't. If it wasn't for Izuku, I would have come here wearing a cheerleader outfit too." Mineta and Kaminari. Izuku's voice came as they both flinched, and Izuku said, "We will be having a long talk," as they both paled. "So this will be a tournament?" Kirishima asked as Midnight nodded and said, "Emmys. And we will be deciding the matches with the lots, and after that we will do a bit of recreation and then we will commence. I'll sit this one out." Ojiro asked as everyone turned towards him asking for his reasons and also that it is the round to show off to the pros and get selected, but he rejected, saying that he doesn't remember anything and his pride doesn't allow him to fight because of it. Another from the B section also withdrew as he didn't remember anything too. Hearing their reasons, Kirishima said, "Man, you guys are super manly. So we will take Team Kendo," Midnight said as there was 2-person room free. "I am sorry, but I think that Team Tetsu should be selected. We didn't do anything much while they fought till the bitter end," Kendo said as Tetsu smiled and said, "Thank you so much. Well then, with Shiozaki and Tetsu edition we have all 16 ready to go," Midnight exclaimed and continued, "Now the matchup are here. Todoroki versus 𝗧𝗍𝗪, Izuku versus 𝗧𝗧, Shiozaki versus Kaminari, Ida versus 𝗧𝗓𝗡, Aoyama versus Ishido, Tokoyami versus Yaoyorozu, Tetsu versus Kirishima, Bakugo versus Uraraka. So now after the matchups we will ready the stadium. Till then you all have a break." Midnight finished as everyone started to go thinking about their matches. Izuku was in his room drawing things and thinking if he gained any internship whom would he go for? Who could benefit him? While Todoroki was thinking on how to defeat Izuku when he heard a knock and he said, "Come in," he saw Ojiro come in as he, raising an eyebrow, asked, "Why are you here?" Ojiro sat down as he said, "Todoroki, listen, that boy you're facing, he has a quirk which lets him control others." Todoroki's eye widened hearing this as he asked, "What?" As Ojiro said, "During the cavalry round he asked me something when I answered him. I don't remember anything afterwards, even though we haven't talked or are friends, but as a classmates I wanted to help you. So I told you." Ojiro then got up and was about to leave when Todoroki said, "Thanks, no problem, where I failed you can pass," Ojiro said as he walked out, leaving Todoroki to form a plan, and he could only do one thing. "All right, now we have match 1. Here comes the half-cold and half-hot winner of the cavalry round from the Department of Heroics, Shudo Todoroki." Present, Mike said as Todoroki came out to the ring. "Versus, sorry you haven't done anything notable or eye-catching yet. Department of General Education, Hitoshi Shinso." Present, Mike announced as Shinso came out to the ring. "The rules are simple. You just have to throw your opponent out of the ring or make them give up. You will be disqualified should you try to end each other's live, and if anything shitty happens then the referee would be there to stop. Now start." Present, Mike explained the rules. "Give up, huh? You get it, Todoroki. Shinso said, it must be nice to be so blessed, Todoroki, you being the son of the #2 hero Endeavor and getting into you. A heroics with just recommendation by asking your daddy and being daddy's little prince, huh? We don't get that privilege. You must be so happy with your life. Shinso sneered at him, unknowingly making Todoroki angry as Izuku thought, oh boing, this will be rough for him. Todoroki in his anger released a huge amount of ice, like he did in canon against 𝗧𝗧𝗪, and trapped all of Shinso's body except for half of his head up from the nose, and his hands were free too. Midnight then asked, can you move? Seeing Shinso not even reply, she shook her head as she said, winner Todoroki, as the crowd cheered and Todoroki glared at Shinso with hate in his eyes and said, I just hate my life, as he walked away leaving a stunned Shinso. Now onwards to match 2, he's turned in an excellent performance to make it this far, and yet what is with the plain expression? Does it ever go off? 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗪 from the heroics, present mic announced as a grinning 𝗧𝗪 came to the ring. Izuku Momo's voice stopped Izuku as he looked back to see her standing, and as she got up and looking into his eyes she said, smiling, good luck. He smiled back and said, wait for me, as she nodded, and he left, lazily waving at her. Versus the hot stuff of the sports festival, the strongest hero in training, Izuku Aizawa from the heroics, he announced as Izuku came in view. Now start. Present mic started as 𝗧𝗪 put both of his hands behind his head and said, I don't know if I can win this or not, but... He suddenly shot tape at Izuku, binding him. I definitely ain't rolling over either, he shouted as he threw Izuku out of the ring. Izuku lazily shot fire out his hands and jumped back into the ring and said, knew you would do something like that? What? Seriously? Oh man, and I thought I had you there, 𝗧𝗪 groaned. Hey, 𝗧𝗪, Izuku said as 𝗧𝗪 looked at him when Izuku suddenly shot forward and said, night-night, and with a flaming fist to the head he knocked 𝗧𝗪 out as Midnight said, the winner is Izuku. Whoa. What a fantastic yet short match. Present mic announced. Izuku smirked as he went to Momo and said, come on, let's go. She nodded as they walked together, while Izuku used his scarf to cover the lower part of his face and walked with her. They both sat in the seats and watched the third match of Kaminari versus Shiozaki, which was pretty pathetic as Kaminari got captured in her vines and also used his quirk too much to reach short circuit and make a fool of himself. The fourth match was of Ida and 𝗏𝗡, in which the latter, seeing how earnest Ida was, tricked him into helping him sell her products, but after showing her products she gave up and let Ida have the win. The fifth match was of Mina versus 𝗒𝗋𝗋, where Mina used her flexible body to dodge each and every one of 𝗒𝗋𝗋's attack until he got a stomach ache, and then she malfunctioned his belt, making him panic, so she used the opportunity to uppercut him and knock him out. After that match Momo's came, and she was very nervous to face Tokoyami as she couldn't even devise a strategy, and Izuku visited her room seeing how tense she was even after Mina and Kirishima had comforted her that she could win. He said, Momo, here, now you will be able to win, as he took of his scarf and wrapped it around her as he said, good luck, Momo, and left as Momo, blushing, hid her face in the scarf, even thought there was a huge smile present there. Momo's match started as present mic announced, here comes the Dark Knight of the festival, Tokoyami 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, who with his partner Dark Shadow has shown incredible moments from the heroics department as Tokoyami appeared in the ring. Versus the beauty, who also showed her wonderful creations and powerful use of her quirk. And wait, is she wearing Izuku's scarf? Anyways, here is Momo Yaoyorozu from the heroics. Present mic announced up in the stands, holy Izuku, is she wearing your scarf? Mina shouted as everyone turned towards them as Izuku said, yet she is, as 𝗬𝗪 asked, what's so special in him giving her his scarf? Dude, this is the same scarf over which you nearly put 20 students in the hospital for trying to take it from you, the one you don't even let me or Mina touch, the one which is an important gift from someone which you don't even let go away from you for a second? Kirishima asked, yet he meant it. This is the same scarf, Izuku said, annoyed. He actually put people in hospital for touching it, 𝗔𝗪𝗧𝗟𝗘 asked as Mina nodded, and smiling she said, Yamamo must be special for you to give her your scarf. Izuku just ate, though a small amount of lilac could be seen on his cheeks. In Momo's match she was losing as Dark Shadow was pushing her away despite her summoning shields, and at the rate she would be thrown out, she was nervous she couldn't lose now. Suddenly she felt warmth spread through her from the scarf. She smiled as she thought, Izuku-kun. She then had an idea as she had regained a calm mind, so she made a flash bang and threw it, causing Dark Shadow to scream and hide as she made 20 more of them. They threw it one at a time as Dark Shadow screamed and started going wild, taking Tokoyami out of the ring with him. The winner is Yaoyorozu, Midnight announced as she went to the stand smiling and sat down beside Izuku, who said, "See, told ya, you would win." She smiled back and said, "It was all thanks to you. With this scarf I was able to think rationally. Thank you." "Nah, no problems," he said as he sat with her, and she, still wearing his scarf, smiled behind it. The second last match of Kirishima versus 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗟𝗘 was a draw as both had the same quirk, so it was more of a battle of endurance, stamina and willpower, so in the end both had ran dry, punching each other, and had fell unconscious. The last match of Uraraka versus Bakugo came, and Uraraka lost badly, but she didn't give up. She only stopped when Bakugo said, "Please, damn it, give up, Ochako. I can't hurt you anymore, just please, give up." She had smiled when B said that as she said, "I finally got you to say my name, then call me round face, Katsuki," as she fell unconscious as a rather blushing Bakugo picked her bridal style and walked away. The next match was an arm wrestling match between Kirishima and 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗟𝗘, which Kirishima won and advanced to the next round. Izuku was walking to the arena after getting ready. He knew this fight would be great, so he had left his scarf with Momo. Izuku was walking when Endeavor came forward. Izuku rose an eyebrow as Endeavor said, "Oh, so you are here. What are you doing in a place like this?" Izuku asked as Endeavor said, "You made a huge showing for me. What a fire quirk and such control, but sadly it is just an inferior version of my hell flames. In terms of your control you will be the perfect match against Shudo's ice, and he will be forced to use his fire. His match with you will be interesting, so don't give him a disgraceful match. My quirk is inferior to yours." Izuku questioned as he laughed and said, "What a load of bullshit. My quirk is superior to yours. What did you say?" Endeavor asked as Izuku said, "What you heard. See how I'll kick your sons butt, and if you feel bad you can come fight me with the inferior version of my quirk you have," Izuku replied, laughing as he went to the ring, leaving of Endeavor behind. "You came," Todoroki said as Izuku said, "Yeah, some shitty old man decided to stop me and I him off, felt good." Todoroki smirked hearing this. Present Mike announced, "This is a fight to see, ladies and gentlemen. Both boys who stand at the top of their class will fight. And obviously there is room for only one at the top." Izuku and Todoroki stood face to face as Present Mike announced, "Starts." Just as he finished, Todoroki fired a wave of ice at high speed towards Izuku, who just lit himself on fire, effectively melting it before it even came close to him. Then another came right back, which Izuku melted, and another came as Izuku melting its side and said, "Lame. I'm getting bored, Todoroki. Can't you entertain me?" as he showed his fingers where "come on" was written with flames as he taunted Todoroki, and Present Mike shouted, "Ooh, there it is." The taunt from Izuku has this got Todoroki riled up. How will he react to this? Honestly, that child, Aizawa thought, shaking his head. "Come on, Todoroki, are you going to fight, or can you only spout nonsense like Endeavor?" Izuku said as Present Mike said, "WH. A burn to Endeavor live." "You are messing with the wrong person," shouted Endeavor as he glared at Izuku, much to his amusement, as he said, "You said something," which caused Endeavor to grit his teeth while others' sweat dropped. Izuku then looked to see a wave of ice coming again as he melted it again and said, "Really? Again, how many dash?" He cut himself off when he saw Todoroki coming from above him as he shot another wave of ice, and Izuku, jumping back, shouted, "Fire Dragon's Roar," as he blew out a wave of fire burning away the ice, and Todoroki used his ice as a shield and got blown back, but then made a ice support for him so he won't fall out. Tish. That was close and nice strategy, but you can't win with that, Todoroki. Even now I can see you are trembling. Without using your flames you are getting frostbite, meaning you are reaching the limit of your ice quirk, Izuku deduced as he looked at Todoroki with an analytical gaze. "I won't give up yet," Todoroki said as in a flash Izuku was over him as he punched him in gut as he doubled over and got a knee smashed to his face and thrown to the ring floor, not outside the ring. Todoroki shakingly got up and coughed out as Izuku said, "You're a fool, you're trying half-butt and thinking you would win, but it won't happen. You can't win with just half of your power, Todoroki, when you have not even put a scratch on me. Everyone here is giving their all, they're doing it to get closer to victory, to the goal they have set for themselves, and you think you can reach your goal with half of your power, then quit dreaming. Come at me with all of your power." Izuku finished, "All of my power. Did my old man pay you?" "Now I am," Todoroki said as Izuku smirked and said, "And what will you do?" Todoroki ran forward and threw a punch which Izuku dodged as he then threw a barrage of punches one after the other and Izuku dodged each one and then hit with a counter of his own. He gave a blow in the liver to Todoroki who coughed and fell on knees as Izuku kicked him away. Izuku then said, "Everyone is giving their all and I can't understand Todoroki why you won't. Now that I think about it, the idea of you becoming #1 with half your power and that you are doing this to disavow someone is AF joke, shut up." Todoroki shouted. Aizawa thought, "What is driving you, Izuku? What are you trying to do? Do you even want to be a hero?" Izuku asked as Todoroki said, "My father dash," but was cut off as Izuku said, "F him, this isn't your father's quirk, this is yours. The 𝗧𝗟𝗘 has his quirk active on him already, it is yours, do what you want to do with this quirk." Todoroki looked shocked as a flashback of his mother came into him and he let out his fire and everyone was shocked as Aizawa thought, "So you were trying to help him?" I want to be a hero too," Todoroki said grinning as Izuku too grinned. "Endeavor," shouted 𝗧𝗟𝗘. "You have finally accepted yourself. Now go defeat this boy and show who has the stronger fire quirk." But sadly for him he was ignored, as Izuku was still grinning and Todoroki asked, "What are you grinning for?" Izuku smirked and said, "Just that there is a single thing about my quirk that I have hidden from everyone, except Dad, that is." Everyone shot up looking interested as Izuku opened his mouth and in all the flames of Todoroki towards himself and ate it. He was actually chewing it and after eating it he said, "Ah, a good meal, now I am all fired up." Whoa. Izuku has just eaten flames of Todoroki and shown another secret of his quirk to the world. Present Mike shouted, stunned Todoroki, and everyone was stunned. This was just too much and Izuku grinned as he said, "Well, let's continue Todoroki." Todoroki had recovered from his frostbite and attacked with a very big ice wave at which Izuku jumped and flew high until he reached the roof of the stadium and while jumping he said, "Todoroki, let's finish this. One final move." Todoroki smirked as he used both his flames and ice while Izuku jumped upwards and spun in the air until he was engulfed in flames and the figure of a dragon came into existence as Izuku's voice rang out, "Now, Fire Dragon Slayer Secret Arts. Flame Dragon's Raging Fist." The dragon descended at an amazing speed as it opened its jaws to attack. Everyone held their breath as a huge explosion occurred and Midnight was blown away while 𝗬𝗪𝗧 made a wall to shield himself. Who won? What happened? Several other questions like these were heard as the arena was filled with smoke. Then the smoke cleared as everyone gasped. There was a crater in the stadium and Izuku was standing over an unconscious Todoroki. Izuku's shirt had blown away leaving him in only a sleeveless black turtleneck shirt. Izuku's arm was broken as it hung limply by his side and the other hand he raised into the sky as Midnight announced, "The winner Izuku," as the hand raised turned into a middle finger as it set on Endeavor and Izuku left the ground. Izuku sat in the infirmary being scolded by Recovery Girl for not finishing the match earlier and drawing it out as Izuku was healed. Izuku got out and saw Momo who hugged him. He smiled as he said, "Hey, I won." She broke the hug as she said, "I was so scared when you jumped from the roof, you know. So show some guilt." He smiled sheepishly at her and she asked, "And since when could you eat fire?" "Since my quirk activated, but I never told anyone as it was my secret weapon, but now I have revealed it," Izuku said sighing as he then said, "Anyways Momo, can you please make me a Molotov?" "Why should I?" she said, "Please. I am hungry." He asked, "What's in it for me?" She asked putting her finger on her chin. All right then I would owe you and do one thing you want me to." He said, "Really?" She asked as he nodded. She smiled as she said, "Deal." She then made him a Molotov as he threw it burning the place as he in all the flames and said, A nice meal." Then came Iida versus Shiozaki which Iida won without much hassle and then Momo and Mina's match came which Momo won but with great difficulty. It was very difficult to hit Mina with her flexibility but if she hadn't found the opportunity to blow her chin with the staff, Momo would not have won. Then Bakugo versus Kirishima came which Bakugo won going to the next round. Then came Iida versus Izuku as Iida said, "Best of luck to you." "Same to you too," Izuku replied. "Start?" Present Mike shouted as Izuku held out his palm and shot flames to which Iida responded by jumping up and using Recipro Burst to hit Izuku as Izuku dodged the hit but was hit by another kick when Iida spun around and hit him in the head as Izuku fell. Izuku, still down, turned his hands around as he blew flames but Iida dodged them and using his speed ran to throw Izuku out but suddenly stopped. He looked down to see his engines had stopped working due to overheating and said, "You win, did you?" All the time when you hit me I used my fire to heat your engines, Izuku said as he jumped up and gave Ida a spinning kick which threw him out of the ring. The winner is Izuku, Midnight announced. Then Bakugo and Momo's match came and Momo couldn't handle the destructive power of Bakugo so she gave up, but still she was content with reaching till here. Then the final between Izuku and Bakugo began as Izuku said, "So ready to lose Bakugo." Like hell I'd lose, but Bakugo said scowling start. Present Mike said as Bakugo rushed forward and blew a explosion as Izuku dodged and jumped back and said, "Whoa, is that all? You bisu?" Bakugo said as he blew out a larger explosion. Izuku smirked as he knew it was a variant of fire so he ate the explosion and said, "Nice taste, you be. Get serious and fight me," Bakugo screamed as he suddenly shot forwards at an increased speed. Izuku was about to dodge when Bakugo made another explosion and jumped above Izuku. Appearing behind him, he punched Izuku in the jaw, throwing him backward. Izuku jumped back and stood up and said, "That hurt," as he rubbed his sore jaw. "Gore. Grow serious already, I am tired of you playing around," Bakugo shouted. Izuku looked at Bakugo as he said, "I have never grown serious against anyone except for that gnome back then." Bakugo flinched remembering that but still said, "I don't care, I wanna fight you at your best. You are AF hypocrite, you told that half and half BSRD to give his all and you aren't giving your all. So how can you lecture others when you can't even do the same?" Izuku stood there silently. Momo, who was watching, thought Izuku and Aizawa was actually a little scared. "Izuku, don't hurt him badly." Izuku then said, "You want me to get serious?" His hair shadowed by his eyes. Izuku then looked up, all the fun gone from his face. A serious face was set in as his eyes turned more sharp and were glowing as Katsuki flinched seeing them and he said, "Well, let's finish this, Bakugo, it will be over in an instant." Izuku flew straight at Bakugo, who dodged the knee attack but then got hit by a fist. And then he doubled over as another hit him in the gut. He coughed as he was kicked in the temple and then just as he flew away, Izuku came behind him and shouted, "Fire Dragon's Roar," and threw out huge flames burning Katsuki. Katsuki tried to get up but Izuku got there and pulled him up from the collar as he tossed him in the air and said, "You lose, Fire Dragon's Wing attack," as he hit Bakugo in the chest and threw him out of the ring. Everyone was silent as Bakugo was destroyed and Midnight announced, "The winner is Izuku," as Izuku not even looked up or acknowledged anything, just walked away while the crowd slowly erupted in cheers. They were then given medals by All Might, the first to Izuku, the second to Katsuki while the third to Momo, and given encouraging words as they all left. The sports festival was now over and internships were about to begin, meaning everyone would have to work more hard. Everyone had reached home tired. Izuku had wanted to sing a song in tribute to his winning the sports festival but he was too damn tired to even do anything so he just jumped on his bed and went to sleep. Izuku was walking to school when he turned around to see many people looking at him, smiling and waving, and the girls looked at him like he was a god and giggling seeing him. He was freaked out. He walked a little faster until a child bumped into him and he bent down and picked the child up as he said, "Are you okay?" "Yes, I am fine," the child said as he then had stars in his eyes as he realized who he was talking to as he said, "Hey, you're the one who won the sports festival, right?" You watched." "Yes, I am," Izuku answered with a smile as he rubbed the child's head. The child's smile brightened as he said, "Can you give me an autograph?" Izuku chuckled as he took the notebook the child had and signed it, and then he noticed the boy's parents running to him as his mother said, "Akio, what are you doing? You shouldn't trouble others." No, it's fine, he was just asking for autograph," Izuku said as his parents noticed who Izuku was and his father said, "Oh, the boy who won the festival. You're pretty strong, become a strong hero, I am rooting for you." "Thanks," Izuku said as he walked to school. Izuku noticed Ida running as he said, "Hello, Ida." "Hello, Izuku," Ida answered with a fake smile though Izuku could see through it as he asked, "How's 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗧𝗔?" Ida stiffened as he told Izuku what happened as Izuku clenched his fist and said, "I won't go for revenge." This shocked Ida as he asked, "But why?" As Izuku said, "I'll do what 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗧 would want me to, and he is a true hero who wouldn't want me to take revenge for him." Ida's eye widened as he understood and walked way deep in thought as Izuku too walked to the class. Izuku sat down as he was greeted by Momo, Mina and Ijiro as they all told him how they were suddenly popular and Izuku told them how he was freaked out from the girls which caused Momo to pout and he smirked at that. He liked it whenever Momo got defensive of him. A jealous Momo was a cute Momo. Morning, came Aizawa's voice as he entered the class and Izuku said, "Ah, so Bachan removed the bandages." Yet though she was overdramatic, Aizawa said as Izuku said, "Yeah, I know Bachan gave me a long lecture over breaking my arm when I fought Todoroki. She even hit me with that stick. Hat sucks to be you," Aizawa said with a smile and Izuku said, "Hey." As Aizawa ignored him and said, "Anyways, today's PRD is a little special." Everyone tensed as they got ready to hear it as Aizawa said, "Today you all will be coming up with hero names, yeah." Finally, everyone shouted, "This all is related to the draft nominations by the pros I mentioned the other day," Aizawa said as he then motioned towards the board and said, "These are the results. Todoroki 4123, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Manga 309, Kirishima 295, Kaminari 186, Uraraka 100, 𝗧𝗟𝗧𝗟𝗘. The difference is like day and night, Hagakure said. Why didn't Izuku get any? He is the winner of the festival. Momo asked as everyone turned towards Aizawa. Aizawa sighed as he said, that's because he is already strong to the point he has no need for internship. These internships are like experience gains, but you have seen how strong Izuku is, but still he has a special internship request come for him, so he would be sent there, to the retired pro hero 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 one, but know this, he is the one who taught all might. Aizawa said, what? Everyone yelled as Izuku grinned and Aizawa said, yes, he sent a nomination for him, so 𝗫𝗫𝗧𝗟𝗘 decided to accept it. Why does he get all the good stuff? 𝗫𝗫𝗧𝗟𝗘 said. Unfair. Mina groaned. Anyways, the hero name you pick must be appropriate. Aizawa was cut off as 𝗫𝗫𝗧𝗟𝗘 said, or it will be hell from here onwards. Everyone turned towards her as she continued. The names you pick now will stay with you till you become a pro and remain with you. Of course, you can pick your own name and then turn it into a hero name later, but that rarely happens. 𝗫𝗫𝗧𝗟𝗘? Everyone said as Aizawa said, well, she is correct. I will let her evaluate your names. Everyone was given 15 minutes as they began to show their names one by one. As the first was Aoyama, as he showed his name and said, I cannot stop twinkling, as everyone deadpanned and thought, the hell is that, as 𝗫𝗫𝗧𝗟𝗘 corrected it by removing the I and shorting the cannot to can't. Then Mina came with Alien Queen, which was rejected. Then 𝗬𝗎 came with Froppy, which was a cute name and got accepted, as everyone was relieved to see a good name. Kirishima came up with Red Riot, showing everyone that he admired Crimson Riot and wants to become like him. Then it was easy for everyone to show their names, as Jiru came showing her name Earphone Jack, then Shoji with Tentacle and Siro with Cellophane. Then Ojiro with Tailman and Sato with Sugarman. Mina came next showing Pinky. The next was Keminati with Chargezuma and Hagakure with Invisible Girl. Then Tokoyami came with Tsukuyami and Todoroki just wrote Shudo. Mineta with Grape Juice and Koda with Anima. Uraraka came with Uravity and Momo with Creati. Bakugo wrote Lord Explosion Murder, which was rejected harshly as everyone laughed at him. Ida thought hard and tried to take over for his brother by continuing his legacy and taking the name Ingenium, but he just wrote his own name. As 𝗫𝗫𝗧𝗟𝗘 said, come on Aizachan, show me your name. Izuku sighed as he stood up and showed his name, at which everyone was shocked, and Izuku said, the fire breather, salamander. Whoa. So cool, Hagakure said. Man. Why can't we think of cool names? Siro shouted. Heh. I never thought of this name. It was used as a nickname for me when I was little by Dad and Aunt Namuri, so I used this. This name has many memories for me, Izuku said with a fond smile, as 𝗫𝗫𝗧𝗟𝗘 squealed as she hugged Izuku and said, a little Aizachan has chosen the name I gave him. Izuku laughed nervously as he scratched his cheeks. Then Bakugo came again with Baron of Explodo Kills, which was rejected again, much to his annoyance and others' amusements. Izuku was sitting and eating lunch with his friends as they all talked about how famous they got and told their experiences of the morning. Izuku then said, I was the most freaked out. The girls were giggling looking at me, even some women were. This was the first time I was scared in my life, as everyone snickered at him, but when he saw Mina grinning he asked, you know something, don't you, Mina? Mina acted innocent as she put a finger on her cheek and said playfully, maybe, maybe not. All right, spill, Izuku said. As Mina said, why should I? Guess I should send that to the group chat, Izuku said as she paled and said, you wouldn't. As Izuku grinned and said, try me. Mina sighed and said, you're no fun. Well, anyways, I know why they were looking at you like that. Momo then said in an irritated tone, tell us already, at which Izuku had to internally laugh. She was so obvious. Mina then showed her phone to Momo, who looked at it and her eyes widened and she said, "When did this happen?" Mina then said, "Oh, the same day as the festival. I was surfing on the internet when I saw this." Momo showed everyone the phone where they saw a page about the hottest guy on you. And Izuku was on the front page with many girls' likes on the picture and comments of him being handsome. The picture was of Izuku with a smirk on his face. He was in the same black sleeveless shirt he was wearing after defeating Todoroki. "Cool picture, huh?" Mina said as everyone looked at the picture interested as Mina then said, "They even got your tattoo." Aizu-chan, as Izuku groaned and 𝗧𝗓𝗧𝗟𝗘, "You have a tattoo?" As Mina zoomed in Izuku's right bicep where there was a tattoo of a green dragon. "Whoa, that's a cool tattoo. Where did you get it from?" 𝗧𝗟𝗘 asked as Izuku sighed and said, "That's not a tattoo." Everyone asked as Izuku said, "It's a mark I had since birth, and I don't know why, but it grows with me. At 4 when my quirk activated there was only a green head and now it's a full dragon. Whoa. But is that even possible?" 𝗬 asked. Izuku shrugged and said, "Nah, don't know, don't care." As they ate lunch until All Might came and told Izuku to come with him. Izuku nodded as he got up and went with All Might where they both sat and Izuku asked, "So?" All Might coughed and said, "What do you think about my offer?" "I am sorry, All Might, really, I know anyone would have jumped at the chance of taking your quirks, but I can't take one for all." Izuku said, "Why? You can be the perfect successor for me. I joined you to find a successor and I can't find a successor and my time is running out. I have only found you worthy enough to take one for all." All Might explained, "I know, and it makes me happy to know that you think highly of me, but All Might, with power as great as yours, comes a huge responsibility and I don't think I can handle the burden. I also want to start a family. All Might, I can't leave them behind for this." Izuku explained. All Might sighed as Izuku continued, "Alright then, how about this?" All Might looked up as Izuku said, "You forget about meeting me and my qualities and search and find some candidates, and if you can't find a worthy successor in 6 months, I'll inherit one for all." All Might brightened up as he said, "Alright, I accept this, young Izuku. Thank you for giving my offer a thought." Izuku nodded as he got up and left the room, going back to the class. Next week, everyone was at the station with their costumes as Aizawa said, "You all will be going now and remember not to wear any of your costumes in public and mind your manners too. Got it?" Everyone said as Izuku said, "Dad, I don't want to go in the train." You can't walk there, it will take too long," Aizawa said as Izuku begged, "But Momo is not even on the train. How will I survive out there?" Momo blushed as she heard her name and Aizawa said, "She won't come to save your butt every time, hey?" Izuku said as everyone snickered. "Anyways, I am not going on that train," Izuku said as Aizawa sighed and said, "Alright, Yaoyorozu you would get of on the next stop of Izuku, so can you take care of him?" Momo nodded as everyone snickered at the wording Aizawa chose as Izuku shouted, "Hoi! I am not a baby." They all boarded the train as Izuku slept in Momo's lap while everyone talked. Izuku's stop was the first as he got off waving everyone goodbye. Izuku looked at the address and walked as he said, The address is here somewhere." He was All Might's teacher, so the house must be unique. Just then he found the building as he said, "Yeah, unique my butt." The building was an old one which had cracks nearly everywhere and looked like no one lived here. Izuku went inside as he said, "Hello, the name's Izuku and I am from you." He then looked to see an old man lying in a red puddle as he smelled and said, "Come on, don't play games, old man. This is ketchup, I can smell it from miles away." The old man got up as he wiped his suit and said, "You're sharp, kid," as Izuku smirked. "Yeah, I know," he said as 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗔 said, "Why did you decide to not take one for all? I mean, anyone would jump knowing All Might is giving him his quirk." Izuku sighed as he said, "Because the greater the power you have, the greater the responsibility you have, and the more enemies you have." 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗔 nodded at that. He could see the kid had a good head and could think good. "Alright then, let's test you out," 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗔 said as he threw away his cane and got ready. Izuku did not even get the chance to react as 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗔 moved way fast for him to react and said, "Now child, I know you can see me but can't react, but after I am through with you, you will be better than ever. Now wear your costume." Izuku smirked as he wore his costume and said, "Are you sure, old man? You can die." 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗔 laughed and said, "You're 100 years early to say that, brats." As 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗔 moved, Izuku got ready and kept his senses open. He looked here and there following his movements. Izuku got hit on the back as he turned late and then got another hit to the side as 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗔 grinned and said, You were telling me that I might die and look, you can't even touch me. Gore, that does it, old man. I'm knocking you out now." Izuku said as he lit his fist and clenched his fist as just as 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏 came behind to attack him he punched there and 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏 dodged and tried to grab him as Izuku back flipped and kicked 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏 away as 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏 flew back and he made a fireball and threw it at 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏 who dodged it as it went out and Izuku was then grabbed at an even more speed and thrown across the room as 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏 said, "You think too much, kid. You should not overuse your brain in a fight when you have things far greater to help you in your battles. You have stuff that makes you a natural warrior, you just have to hone them, and yet you create shackles on your own self." "Huh," Izuku said still upside down as he got up and dusted himself off. "Now I'm going to step out for a bit," 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏 said as he walked out and Izuku was deep in thought and what 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏 said echoed in his mind until he realized and said, "Wait, now I get it. All the time I think of how to defeat others. Where will they strike from? Where will they come from? Which can be the real one? Are there reinforcements? I was a fool. These things can easily be countered if I use my senses. I have far greater senses than others I see. So the old man really is great." 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏 was outside den behind the door as he heard Izuku's thinking and smirked as he thought, "The kid has flexible thinking. I now see what you meant, Toshinori, or should I say, All Might." At night when 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏 slept Izuku got out and said, "Right now I have to try and avoid all the traps I have made." He had threw down all the dust bin and created a type of obstacle course as he himself and tried to go through it but he couldn't utilize his sense of smell and hearing correctly together so he stumbled over and hit his face several times. He either listened in a more range than he wanted to or too short, sometimes he smelled too much and sometimes he smelled too less. The next day he was full of bruises as 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏 asked, "The hell happened to you?" "Oh, got carried away with self-training," Izuku replied as they talked until he gave Izuku a hint, "Kid, you try to focus on senses too much, and still think things you have to let go." Izuku thought for a while as he understood and said, I got it. I have to sometimes do what my instinct tells me. Quirks are body parts too. How could I forget such a basic fact?" He then took a deep breath as he made a calm face and 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏 noticing his change in behavior asked, "Wanna try?" "Yes please," Izuku answered as the fight started with Izuku following 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏's movement with his eyes until he got hit and lost his focus and tried to think when 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏 said, "You're making the same mistake again." Izuku picked up the table and threw it on 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏 who dodged but it gave a moment of calming himself down to Izuku who let go of his thoughts and closed his eyes as 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏 came down but Izuku hearing his steps dodged and gave a punch which was dodged but Izuku still kept at it. Until his instinct said to dodge back as he back-flipped and kicked the air which hit 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏 and he flew away as while Izuku was punching 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏 had jumped and tried to kick Izuku but he had countered and thrown him away. "Hey, you got it, kid," 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏 said dusting himself as Izuku asked, "Thanks, but are you okay?" Nodding at him 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏 thought, the kid will be a real monster someday." Then came the fourth day where Izuku had sparred with 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏 again and then 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏 said, "All right kid, we are going to get workplace experience. Seriously, awesome," Izuku yelled as he fist pumped. They went together until Izuku stopped and 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏 asked, "What?" No, Izuku said as 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏 asked, "The hell happened, kid?" "I have motion sickness. It is a drawback of my quirk. I can't stand any rides," Izuku said as 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏 made a deadpan face and said, "Well, I am old and I can't walk so get your butt on the train." Izuku was groaning sitting in the train as his face was green. Suddenly he said, 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏, dodge, incoming," as 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏 picked Izuku and dodged as the wall of the train exploded and a Nomu came in and 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏 said, "Kid, stay. I'll fight it," as he kicked the Nomu and took him away. Izuku wobbled out of the train and looked the destruction in the city and thought, "This is Hosu." He was alarmed as he realized 𝗧𝗏𝗧𝗏 might be here. He went for Native's agency to take revenge on 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗏, the hero killer that bstrd. Izuku thought clenching his fist as he lit his hands and jumped away using his flames to fly faster. He reached town. Meanwhile 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗏 was about to kill a hero when Iida arrived and was about to attack when 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗏 deflected it and hit Iida in the face and said, "Go away. This isn't a place for children. I came here for you, 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗏, and to think I will find you this early," Iida said as 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗏 looking at Iida said, "You have the eyes of an Avenger, so I must cut you down as well. You criminal, I am the brother of the hero you cut down, Ingenium, and I will be the one to defeat you." Iida shouted, "That's so. Then die." 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗏 said Iida and 𝗧𝗧𝗏 were fighting when 𝗧𝗧𝗏 cut Iida and pushed him down as he sat over him and said, "Ingenium's brother, I let him live to feed rumors, but you're pretty weak. He then gave Ida a lecture over how heroes should save others and not be weak and concerned for revenge, as Ida cried that 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗏 had ruined his brother's dream and his chances to be a hero. 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗏 then Ida's BLD as Ida's body became heavy and paralyzed. Just as 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗏 was about to give the final blow, he was punched with a flaming fist and sent flying away into the wall as Izuku said, "Looks like I came to save you right on time." "How?" Ida asked as Izuku said, "I was in Hosu when a Nomu attacked the train and I then realized you would go after 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗏, so I searched for you and following your scent I reached here." Don't get involved in this," Ida said as 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗏 came and said, "You came to save him, that's nice, but I have a duty to kill them, and if you interfere I will kill you too. Don't run away, Izuku. This has nothing to do with you," Ida shouted. Izuku smirked and said, "So what? I learned this from All Might, that butting one's nose in someone else's business is one of the main qualities for being a hero." "Ho!" 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗏 said, impressed, as Izuku rushed at him lighting his fist with fire, and 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗏 grinned, taking out his sword as he made a slash, but Izuku jumped upwards and 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗏 tried to slash again, but Izuku used his flames and threw himself to the side as 𝗧𝗧𝗏 missed, and Izuku jumping of the wall gave an axe kick to 𝗧𝗧𝗏 as 𝗧𝗧𝗏 hit the ground face first. Izuku jumped back and said, "Any advice, Ida?" "Just don't get cut by him after I got cut by him. I couldn't move," Ida said as Izuku nodded and said, "I see. That's why he smells so much of BLD." Suddenly, he jumped back as he saw 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗏 near him and he backflipped as ice came and froze 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗏 as Todoroki came in view along with Momo, as Momo said, "Izuku, for something like this send more information?" "Heh, sorry, but 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗏 wouldn't give me the time to send an SOS, would he?" Izuku said, "It's one after another today," 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗏 said as Ida said, "Why are you here, Yaoyorozu and Todoroki?" "But that's my line," Todoroki said as he continued using his fire and ice to keep 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗏 away, and said, "What you did, Izuku, was send all your contacts your location. It took me a while, but I learned you are not the one to send messages without any meaning." "Me too. I then thought it must mean that you need backup," Momo said as she created a rope and stun gun. Suddenly Izuku fell down as he said, "The F?" and Todoroki looked confused as Izuku saw him BLD and said, "I see. Todoroki. Momo, don't let him ingest your BLD, he can paralyze you with that. Got it?" they both said as Momo covered for everyone while Todoroki attacked 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗏. Todoroki did a fine job attacking and dodging with ice until he was cut, and just as 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗏 was about to digest his BLD, he got flaming fist to his face as Izuku stood there and said, "Like I'd let you, what? You can move. But how? You got cut in last." Ida asked as Momo said, "I think it must be due to the amount of BLD ingested, or it could be because of BLD type." "Correct, girl. This is because of the BLD type. The type of O are lead of 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏," 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗏 confirmed her theory. 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗏 then said, "I see you won't let me kill them, so I must grow serious." 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗏 threw his blade as he took out a hidden blade, which shined even in the dark as 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗏 said, "Behold, this blade is the one that cuts without anyone even noticing." A blade made of platinum. Todoroki ran ahead at full speed to hit 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗏 as 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗏 dodged his attacks and cut him across the shoulders as he ingested it, making Todoroki fall paralyzed. He came front of Momo and said, "I'll cut you down first," as the blade came down. Izuku forced himself to speed up as he reached Momo and got her out of the way as he tried to dodge, but he was cut deep from the neck till his cheek as BLD flew, and Momo shouted, "Izuku? Damn it!" Izuku thought as he put a hand on his bleeding neck and said, "I have to finish this now." Todoroki dodged. Todoroki understood that a large-scale attack was going to be made, so he created ice and shielded himself as Izuku shouted, "Fire Dragon's Roar!" A huge burst of fire hit 𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗏 square in the face as he flew back and hit the wall with a loud thud, and had third-degree burns as he was knocked out. Izuku fell on his knees in exhaustion, as his neck hurt. Momo was by his side as she cried and held him from falling down. His scarf had also turned half red with the amount of BLD. Then he saw 𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏 appear as he said, Kid, he's bleeding a lot. Call the ambulance, we gotta take him fast." He struggled to stay conscious as he heard several others crowd over him as he fell unconscious as he had bled a lot.